La aventura tiene un nuevo nombre, Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Con la Rogue Rock Creek estarás listo para conquistar el camino que venga. Si es una ruta rocosa, tienes llantas todoterreno. Ante una gran bajada, control para descenso inclinado y su parrilla tubular para techo, lista para lo que necesites. Cuando la vida te ofrece aventura, tú tienes la Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. La capacidad de carga está limitada por el peso y la distribución. Siempre asegure la carga. Cargar el vehículo con mucho peso, especialmente en el techo, afectará el manejo y la estabilidad del vehículo.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 281. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined today by the Frank and Fiona Fennell of LA, Jesse and Alex. Welcome, gentlemen.
Frank and Fiona.
I don't even know what that. I don't know what that is.
Is that when Shrek turns into a man?
From the
Like a very attractive man with his like
Frank Fennell
steed?
is my name.
from the television show The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin from 1976 to 1979 from the UK.
Of course.
3 seasons.
Of
You
course.
can tell they were on a whole different level when that's the name of a show. Like that would never fly in America. The Fall and Rise of insert name of guy. No,
That's
Insert
like
name of man?
That's like the subtitle of like a, I don't even know, like a made-for-TV movie based on a cartoon TV show.
Here's the pitch. Sick of his marriage, his family, and the daily grind of his job, Reginald Perrin comes up with the only logical solution for such a deep midlife crisis. He fakes his own death. After various attempts at creating a new life, Reginald adopts a disguise and returns to his old life to find that nothing much has changed. He even remarries his wife, Elizabeth, after wooing her at his own funeral, and he gets a job at his former company where he manages his own memorial fund.
This show would be called Old Life in America.
Yeah. Oh, God. Anyway,
Old
welcome
life,
back
new
to the
life.
show, everybody.
Wait, who the fuck are Frank and Fiona then?
I think it's the name of, I don't know. I don't know why that's what they're called. I mean, it's their real names, the actors' names. Frank and
Okay,
Fiona are married in real life, and then they were actors on the show.
Is
playing
that
these
true?
two roles. I'm looking real quick.
What?
are you making this up?
I'm just trying to tell you what Google's telling me about this.
Do you have like a specific GPT that's just like a UK centric?
Not even using ChatGPT. I don't use that shit. I'm literally just using Google. Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin. Yeah, I don't understand why the other 2 names are.
But your Google search term is like my favorite shows from the UK TV. Like
Frank and Fiona Fennell, The Rise and Fall of Reginald Perrin. I don't understand. Maybe UK is just a weird place. And if you understand why these 2 names are involved with this show where I cannot see their names, please tell me.
in this enigmatic situation, I'm definitely a Frank.
All right, yeah.
Right.
that
I mean,
works.
like whatever. I'll be Fiona.
Yeah, Fiona.
I am the hot redhead after all.
Yeah, because let me be Frank.
Let's just let you be Frank.
Just let me be Frank. Maybe that's his like new life name, and then that's what the show's called in America is. Just let me be Frank.
Just let me be Frank. Is that? Yeah, it would be called that in America.
Let me be Frank.
Leslie Schofield was in this, and he was an Imperial officer in A New Hope.
Okay, that's good.
So that's tied to your other podcast, Star Wars New Canon Book Club, right there.
Yeah, wow. Look at that. Full circle. Guys,
Listen,
if you're loving this interplay between these 3 hosts, head over to the Star Wars Old Canon Book Club where Mathis is replaced with Davis, who just in general feels everything that he feels a little harder than all the rest 3 of us.
It's true.
it's very fun to like introduce a mind-blowing concept to Davis and watch his reality unravel in real time.
Unless, of course, you betray him, in which he will never forgive you.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Guys,
telling him about quantum mechanics was a great night.
yes. Guys, it's Cornerfest 25, episode B. What do you guys think about that? You guys ready? How are you guys feeling after the first week of Cornerfest?
The internet seems to love it. I can't, you know what? Even though I think you're a madman from the lost mines of insanity.
Yeah.
Apparently they're here for it. So you know what? I'm going to take this ride, but I also am willing to settle on the fact that our audience may just be insane.
I think it's just all about, following the right life path number, getting your ducks in a row, just focusing behind creativity.
Jesse, you tackle these things like Indiana Jones, and he tackles them like Voss.
Right,
Who?
right. I've always said Alex was
is a Nazi.
a Nazi.
A Nazi?
Yeah.
An obsessed Nazi. Yeah, I've said that about Alex for years.
What are you guys thinking of? Cornerfest episode B, you remind me of a Nazi?
You remind me of a Nazi. Yeah, you know what? I get. You're right. You're right.
Thank you.
You're right, Matt.
And he's named after the fucking Norwegian water?
Sorry, I'm the forgettable girlfriend that gets thrown away at the end of the movie, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Guys, here we are yet again with another entry in our annual festival of bizarre mysteries from around the internet. That's right, folks. It's time for Cornerfest episode B, the second in our 4-week festival of weird mysteries from all around the internet. And, it's funny. I mentioned last week that an ancient ruin had been discovered, left by an older, less practical version of our mighty order. And it's so funny. But what they found from the writings and stuff that they've unearthed in that discovery, which we quoted last week, is that the Chilluminati actually used to do something just like this back in antiquity, too, just like Cornerfest.
Wow.
Except it had more of an occult pagan vibe because it was older. And the whole point of it was just about being brave, about staring into the void, because that's the only way to learn new stuff, et cetera, gain new perspectives, life path number 3, whatever. The Chilluminati actually is mostly just chill and not that sinister, blah, blah, blah. But long story short...
Not that sinister, implying there's some still base level of sinisterism built in.
If you have secrets, you're sinister. I can't do anything about it. Long story short, to just honor that legacy or whatever... I have personally been authorized to share a quote from one of our most chill at rest, who presided over the organization in the early to mid 50s. He is now, for the continued safety of his kin, only going to be referred to as LBM in context. But here's Jesse with some of his most famous words of wisdom to get week 2 of Cornerfest 25 off on the right foot, edited slightly to add a modern zest. Just a little slight edit for a modern zest.
Oh.
Be smart, but never show it. The sign of a clever auteur is to achieve the illusion that there is a sole individual responsible for magnificent creations that require thousands of people to subscribe, you son of a bitch, at patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. That's what I get for not reading ahead.
Yeah.
Bing, 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 bong, bing, bong. And with that, Cornerfest week 2 begins. Thank you all for listening. If you want our show artist, Studio Melectro, to make a tour shirt for Cornerfest, find us on Blue Sky and let us know. Here's to a killer 25. I love you guys. Let's hop to it. Starting with the DMT laser experiment. These shouldn't be surprises if you're looking at the poster. So a few months ago,
I know what we're about to get into. I love this thing. Can I just say, when I first discovered this, it was fascinating because they were the video I saw started with we figured out a way to level lasers against a wall and be able to see the code. So what you have to do is you have to put the lasers in a meticulous angle, put them against the wall, and then you have to take a hit of DMT. And I was like, what? That's okay. You can't line this up like a science experiment and then hit me with, and then I took a hit of DMT. You fucking crazy person.
But nevertheless, you must admit that in the field of psychedelic research, there is something to the notion that we are maybe altering ourselves in the same way to experience the ability to, cross our consciousness to another state of being, which is not totally unserious, right? And just so that
no.
And just so that you're all boned up on what Mathis is talking about. A few months ago, I got a DM about this guy, Danny Goler. I think.
got a few.
Maybe we briefly talked about this topic on the show before. I don't remember. Possibly.
Yeah, hang on, Jesse, are you familiar with this at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe we covered it in a mini-sode for
No,
like a
we
few
didn't.
minutes.
We definitely did not.
I don't think we've talked about this at all. I think
No,
I
that's
know,
what I'm saying.
I-
Jesse's coming at
messages
this
from people.
blind. It's amazing.
I think at least you and I, Mathis, have like chatted about this.
Well,
in
you've probably
person.
talked about it
You
on
know
the
what?
side or
Oh,
shared
hold
a
on,
video.
hold on. I do remember we were having a conversation before one of our live shows. We were talking about this very subject.
Yes.
And you guys were talking
Oh.
about it. I was like, they don't, I wasn't messaged that. And you guys were laughing because, of course, they wouldn't message me because I'd be like, nah, dude,
No.
you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they only message you too. Right. I remember this.
Yeah, so I follow up on the DM. They lead me to an episode of the fucking Danny Jones podcast that came out really recently about the same guy, Danny Goler. Here's a link to that podcast if you want to see it in the show notes. The host is not somebody who vibrates on my wavelength. Zero disrespect. It's just not my thing. But the link's going to be in the show notes if you want to see it. It's just not my personal zone. If you guys want to see it, I'll give you the link, but it's like a fucking 2-hour podcast. So
Yeah,
whatever
I do,
you
yeah.
do that. But apparently this experiment he's been doing is that he's been asking people on DMT, just like Mathis said, to look at laser beams that are on the wall, where, according to him, pretty universally, in a way where like 15 people can all see and discuss the exact same thing at a party. And one thing they always say is that it stays in relation to where their eyes are, different than most hallucinations, like relative in space. All of them can move around it and see the same stuff. There seems to be some kind of visible digital language or code written inside the beam that looks something like, but not necessarily exactly the same as, the Matrix. So here's a quote from Goler for Mathis to read to give you a sense of what kind of guy he is. And then watch this clip for a second, starting at about 2 minutes to like 2:25, and then let the people know what you're seeing.
Clip first.
Let's do the. We're gonna do the quote first, then I'll give you guys the clip.
Yeah, so like when I first saw the phenomenon, it was like, holy shit. But then it was actually like, whoa, what's happening? Am I losing my mind? But then I showed other people and things just kept getting weirder. I showed over 100 people and I kept asking myself, how are all of us seeing the same thing? All right, take just a moment. Finding over 100 people to do DMT with you is insane. That's a lot of people who are just like, yeah,
He
let's
seems like a
fucking do
pretty
DMT.
privileged guy. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay. The laser was revealing numbers and letters running in a pattern. It looked like programming code. For centuries, mankind has attempted to explore these psychedelic altered states, but we've never had a repeatable, testable phenomenon to observe until now. I mean, like, take yourself through that. Like, I just made a connection that nobody made before, which is a simple connection. The claim is if you project a diffracted laser on a surface and you smoke DMT, you will see code writing in the surfaces. Yes, like in the Matrix. So there are a few possibilities. One, I lost my mind, which is the coolest losing your mind ever in history. The second option is, this is the biggest discovery of humankind. If anybody asks themselves what it would be like to know you lived in the Matrix for sure, well, I know for sure. I'm convinced. So, where do we go from here? All I know is it's about to get crazy.
Yeah, and this clip you should start at about 2 minutes and watch it for like 20 seconds and just tell everybody what you're watching.
Okay, so it's immediately just like, on a white door, they're projecting a red cross. The red cross is like a laser. And people who are on DMT get really close to it, almost like perpendicular to the laser. And they're looking at it and they're just like, oh my God. Oh, I see it.
I don't understand what I'm
watching a bunch of people on a very intense psychedelic.
right staring at a cross
laser.
they drew on a door or wall.
No, it's a projected laser cross.
And what are they seeing?
Like Matrix, like code, Matrix code in like a sort of like in space, like into the wall, into the code of reality through the laser. It's like almost like making it easier for them to see on a different plane.
It's a wild thing to record like this too, because like nobody who's watching the video is seeing what these people are seeing. It just looks like a bunch of people on psychedelics
Just staring at a wall.
Staring at a wall. Yeah.
So
All I need
yeah.
to know is one of the top upvoted comments is Rogan will be all over this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like
Yes.
that's all I need to know. This
Yeah.
is insane stuff.
So I don't know. It does seem like lots of people are seeing something similar. That is true, but it's not like a controlled experiment, like you're saying. It's just dudes looking at a wall. It's just people saying what they're seeing. It seems convincing enough. They're acting at least. But like you guys are saying, there's a Rogan-y mysticism energy to it that is like unserious. And when I looked into this supposed human behavior expert, an interrogation consultant guy called Chase Hughes, who they showed this to, and he was like very gung-ho about it. I thought he was like a guy that they were impressing because he's like a scientific expert, which is like the vibe that they were giving. But like, this is the guy. Here's his Goodreads page. So you can see this book and you can kind of just let the people know what's going on with this book.
The Passport is the name of the book, and it's like the what is it? The David anatomy picture, but except it's just a square and a circle with a girl silhouette inside of it.
But you know what type of book it is, right?
Okay, let me just read the descriptor to you. I hate this, dude. This sucks. It's called The Passport. It looks like a passport, and it says, for some reason though, it says TM at the top. When you look at like what it just says TM. Don't know what that means. But then it says, live above other men. What if there were secret techniques to get any woman you wanted? You're holding all of it. You have to pick. You have your pick of women when you walk into a room. Get phone numbers in 3 minutes flat. Kiss gorgeous women within 15 minutes. Get women chasing you today, and in a literal N. Have capital H. Women trying to impress you. Be the guy women leave their boyfriends for. Make everyone wonder if you're a celebrity. Never be put in the friend zone again. Here's all I'm going to say.
Well, first of all, let me just also say, if the people have to wonder if you're a celebrity, you're just not a celebrity. That's just how it works.
This is like, all right. Yo, I'm just going to, okay. Dear everyone ever who has ever taken advice like this or listened to like an Alpha Bro podcast or any of that shit.
I'm not listening to this podcast, but if
there is a reason, yeah, of course they're not, but share it with your friends. There's a reason why they want you to still, like, they can't sell you shit like this if you're not single and you're not kind of pathetic. They want you in that state permanently. So you will keep coming back. Yeah. So this isn't good advice. This is advice that will get you perpetually not kissing any women. And you will literally have to keep coming back to them because it's a con. Please don't fall for this stuff. Don't listen to them. It's a scam. Please.
As Alex said, A.K. Voss in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. A little confrontation, a little affirmation, and insecure men are so easy to manipulate.
That is, Alex, it's really, really great. The bad guy has like a little subordinate bad guy, but he's like a super Nazi, and he just really wants to be good for the fatherland, and he's just like, he's such an insecure man. All I gotta do is like hype him up, and he's super into it. That's
what you're saying is it's a compliment that I remind you of this Nazi.
No, he's still an asshole, but the topic is
not the asshole part. It's the crazy architect into the conspiracy world part that you have in common, right?
Those trains, right? Anyway,
yeah.
He also used to offer, the same guy used to offer a $19,987 4-day quote elite training workshop called The Black Course. Bro. Which I've got an archive of for 2023 if you want to see this website.
It's way cheaper. You just get your own DMT, shine a laser on the wall, and go stare at it.
This guy is not that guy. This is just a guy that he was like, this guy knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And it's just like, to give you an idea of the type of people that he's really showing this to, and not like, this was a guy who did a profile on his channel about, look at me showing this expert this technique.
Thank you so much to Acorns for sponsoring today's episode. Before Acorns even reached out, I've been using them since 2020. So coming up on 5 years, it just turned 2025, but I think it was like the summer of 2020. I just wanted to invest in my future. Something that I hadn't really gotten an education on when I was younger was really how to like productively save and invest in some sort of portfolio, along with obviously being able to save your own money and whatnot. If you don't know what Acorns is, let you know, like a kind of a quick pitch for you is basically it's an app that makes it easy for everyone to start saving and investing. In fact, you can actually just get started with your spare change, which is how I got started. Plus, you can earn bonus investments just from buying what you need from brands that you love. Small steps today can have a huge impact on your future, and from Acorns, mighty oaks do grow. So grow your oak. Not in the sexual way. You do not need to be an expert to do this. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing your money so your money has a chance to grow for you, your kids, and your retirement. You don't need to be an expert, or Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can start with $5 or even just your spare change with their roundup. And it takes you like 5 minutes to get this thing and to get an account all set up for yourself. Basically, Acorns does all the hard parts so you can save your money and just watch it grow. Like I said, I've been doing this now for Acorns for about 5 years, and it has been one of the best things I've done. It's just given me such a breath of fresh air, a little bit of an emergency leeway if I need it. And I know that my money is there making its own money in my investment portfolio. So even if I leave it alone for a number of years, it's still actually going to be worth something more than when it started. So you want to check this out, all you have to do is head over to acorns.com/chill or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing in your future today. That's it, acorns.com/chill. Thank you again to Acorns for sponsoring today's episode. A paid client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/chill. The Black Course is a 4-day experience with the most powerful techniques in the world. Learn the most insane skills in persuasion that I will never teach in public, and walk out the door of this event with skills and tactics that less than 1% possess. The Black Course contains the elite level training that I consider to be dangerous, but also has the greatest potential to create radical, positive change. Remember, a tool is only made evil by its user. There's no gimmick. This course contains content and methods you will never hear anywhere else in the world. I built these methods through working with the world-leading experts in the science of psychology, behavior, and neuroscience. Nowhere else in the world except for where I also worked with people on it.
You can make anyone do whatever you want, no matter what, for $20,000.
You know, there's an actual real psychological way to do that. It's very simple. If someone talks to you, just ask them follow-up questions and keep asking them follow-up questions, and they will continue to talk to you. It's really that simple. You don't have to
this shit gets better. Okay, we got to move on, obviously, but listen to this. A background check? Yes, I require all attendees to undergo a background check and criminal records check for the course, as well as a 4-minute phone call with a government-level artificial intelligence system that is designed to screen candidates using 4 automated questions to assess and identify risk.
That doesn't even make
a government-level artificial intelligence. What do you even mean?
Yeah, it's like made up.
What sucks is this is the exact same level of con as dudes selling pheromone perfume or cologne.
Oh, big time.
Where it's like, ladies will not resist you if you put this on. It's like, what are you
based
talking
on
about?
It's based on you never asking a question after 6th grade. It's the kind of person that needs this. But yeah, it made me kind of lose steam on the idea, looking at the people that were involved and seeing this type of shit. And I was just kind of disheartened by it. So like I say, these things are all based on things that I didn't make episodes about in the end, right? But I decided to turn to the opposite type of guy of that guy. I went for a credentialed theoretical physicist who's an expert at string theory and supersymmetry. And that's when I found a guy called S. James Gates. S. James Gates is currently the director of the Brown University Theoretical Physics Center and the Ford Foundation Professor of Physics. He holds the Clark Leadership Chair in Science at the University of Maryland College of Computer, Mathematical, and Natural Sciences Physics Department, and served on President Barack Obama's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. That was back when they actually used to put scientists on that type of council. So here's a quote from a paper he had published in Physics World. This is S. James Gates in 2010 about something called adinkras, which are geometric objects that encode mathematical relationships between supersymmetrical particles. Do you guys know what supersymmetry is?
No.
So here's the definition from Wikipedia if you need it. Supersymmetry is a theoretical framework in physics, and I'm sure you're going to recognize this, that suggests the existence of a symmetry between particles with integer spin, bosons, and particles with half-integer spin, aka fermions. It proposes that for every known particle, there exists a partner particle with different spin properties. That's what supersymmetry is.
Gotcha.
All right, so what you just described was the technical term, but I still don't know what it means.
So anyway, here's a quote for you to maybe illustrate it a little better.
We were led first to graphical technology, something we called the adinkras.
Yeah,
This is a word that comes from traditional West African languages. But we found these mathematical objects which sit inside the equations with the property of supersymmetry. Then, I still don't understand what supersymmetry is. Then, secondly, even more shocking for us, When we analyzed these objects very carefully, we found out that they have attributes of ones and zeros, in precisely the same way that computers use ones and zeros to send digital information. And in particular, the kinds of codes we found, which was the most shocking thing for us, is that there's a class of codes that allow your browsers to work in an accurate way. What? They're called error-correcting codes. We found a role for error-correcting codes in the equation of supersymmetry, and this was just stunning for us. In fact, it was so stunning that it was at least 8 months before any of us would sort of admit how bizarre it was. Could it be that codes, in some deep fundamental way, control the structure of our reality? I still don't know what they're talking about.
So supersymmetry is that thing about, like, is there a link between, like, particles that are, like, different from each other that, like, is, like, universal across everything?
Is it, or is this just like the three of us sitting around trying to interpret it? Because I feel like this isn't what they think it is, and we're trying to interpret what they think it is, and I don't think it is what they think it is.
No, supersymmetry is very established as a thing, but the point is that these shapes that they're like mathematical shapes that they're investigating, right? That these adinkras that are like they are visual representations of things that you can then get. They can like interpret the data inside the shape as code.
I don't even know if that's true.
Okay. Hey, hang on.
No, this is a quote from the guy.
Okay, I've never done this, but you mentioned...
I understand it's a quote from them, but I don't think they know what it is. I don't think they're smart enough to know what this is, and I think we're relying on their interpretation of it, and I think they're wrong.
Let me give you... this is an AI Eli 5 of supersymmetry, okay? Let's see if this helps. It says, imagine a set of Legos. You've got regular bricks, let's call them matter bricks, and then you have special bricks that can connect things in different ways, like those long, thin ones or the ones with the hinges. We'll call those force bricks. Now, in the world of tiny particles, physicists have found all these different matter particles, like electrons and quarks, and force particles, like photons and gluons. They're kind of like the Lego bricks making up everything around us. But here's the thing. Physicists are curious. They wonder if there's a secret connection between these matter bricks and force bricks, particles of each. Like maybe they're not so different after all. That's where supersymmetry comes in. It's like a magic mirror that says for every matter particle Lego, there's a hidden force particle Lego twin and vice versa. These twins are called superpartners. So your electron Lego would have a selectron twin, and your photon Lego would have a photino twin, and so on.
It's like a way of looking at the world where, like, there's for every particle another particle that it makes them more related to each other than you originally think.
Two sides of the same coin, and they said connected in a way we don't fully understand yet. The reason this is exciting, if supersymmetry is real, it could explain some big mysteries in physics, like why is gravity so weak? Maybe the graviton, the force particle for gravity, has a super partner that's messing with it. What is dark matter? Perhaps some of these undiscovered super partners are the mysterious dark matter that makes up most of the universe.
I completely understand what you're saying there. Like, I get the concept. I'm saying the way they're describing it and the way they say, then secondly, even more shocking for us, when analyze these objects very carefully, we found out, by the way, I don't know what we analyze very carefully means in their context. We found out that they have attributes of ones and zeros, precisely the same way computers use ones and zeros for digital information. And in particular, these kinds of codes we found, the most shocking thing for us was that the codes allow your browsers, don't know what that means, to work like, in a more accurate way.
They're talking about, so what he's saying that has supersymmetry is that for certain math equations, right? These cutting edge, like Obama's guy for cutting edge theoretical string theory and supersymmetry is discovering a analog mathematical object like shape that sits inside the equation in supersymmetry with it. That's like a shape, right? And what builds up the shape is a structure of order that can be interpreted as ones and zeros, just like code, right? And so he's saying, like, in your web browser and things like that, to be accurate across all the different computers and systems that they're on, there are error correcting codes that are built into code that runs websites and stuff to, like, correct errors in the processing of the code, right? And what they're saying is that in these mathematical objects that are made of ones and zeros, they're actually perceiving error correcting code in the ones and zeros structures that make up those mathematical structures that are supersymmetrical with certain complex math equations in, like,
God,
really,
guys,
really
we're so smart.
cutting edge
We're
physics.
just three smart dudes who
I
are
must
really
stress,
understanding.
I do not understand. I'm trying.
I am
I'm
too. I'm
genuinely
really
trying to understand what
And
you're saying, and I do not get it at all.
Every once in a while, I think I do, and I'm like, no.
I guess I'm trying to figure out how this relates to the previous conversation we were just having.
Sure.
With the DMT experiment.
What I'm saying is there code that makes up reality? And what this cutting edge string theorist is saying is, yes, there fucking is, to the point that it even has error correcting code built into it.
Is
and
that
that's
what-
the guy who's
But I
cutting
feel-
edge
but I feel like
and
that's
credentialed.
Isn't that what qubits might be?
But I feel
Maybe.
like that this whole thing is us putting that ones and zeros shit on stuff that isn't ones and so like
That
a light
quote that I
switch-
read about the ones and zeros, that's from the leading supersymmetry
I'm
physicist.
with you. I'm with you. I feel like though taking that to the next level is it is us taking this information. It would be like if we did this. Like I don't think the other dudes are qualified enough to then take this high level information and say this is what it means because I see it on
DMT
laser.
man. What is DMT man's like history? Like, what is his credentials?
He's just
Is
like
it
a guy on the internet who does
That's
shit.
what I'm saying. Like I don't.
He's
again,
not connected. I just want to be clear that Laser Guy is not in any way connected with this physicist.
right. They're two different organizations.
I'm just
with
looking into the claims of this guy being able to see into reality
I get you.
by
So you're just
adjusting
trying to
his
find,
perception.
like a rooted in actual science potential connection that could explain what he's seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's a difference between taking, like I was literally just talking with with Krendor last week about this exact same subject, and he was like, I don't get how computers work, and I was trying to explain to him ones and zeros, and I was like, the easiest thing is a light switch. On is a 1, off is a 0. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple. And
That's what makes the Google's Willow chip fucking scary as shit.
yeah, and I
is
can understand how you could take the idea of ones and zeros and extrapolate it onto reality. I get that completely. What I don't get is the other guy, not the person we were just talking about, the other guy, the DMT guy, being like, I look at a laser and I see ones and zeros. Like that's a different.
There's one way
entirely different
there's one way to get to the bottom of it that's probably not very expensive.
Listen, I said I'll do DMT one time before I die. If this is
Yeah,
for
all
this, for
Because here's the
science,
thing.
We have to
I need to
record
be
it, though.
around
We have
someone
to record
saying,
the entire
"Oh my
experience."
god, I'm so afraid." I'd be like, "What am I going to see?"
We'll get a nice Sherpa to guide us, but the
Yeah,
implications
yeah,
the
please,
implications are almost like theological if you think about it, like what he's saying, right? And in fact, here's Mathis with another quote from him, from S. James Gates on NPR's On Being podcast
In the mindset.
with Krista Tippett. He's taking a big hit right now. On how this could,
Let's go.
how this information could unify the relationship between science and religion, since ultimately they both just strive to define our existence in a meaningful way. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't it be fucking crazy if I just took a hit of DMT right now and just the
If you just like open your mouth and like pure truth just starts like spewing from it that like blows our ears out like Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Okay. About the adinkras and the codes. This blogger, who to this day I don't know this young man, read the article and he raised the question that if the equations of fundamental physics are based on information theory and essentially information theory is at the very center of string theory, how'd you get there? And his implication is that indeed this is something for theologians to contemplate. You know, that was, again, for me, a stunning assertion, and it still is yet to be fully studied. But it probably will not be studied by physicists.
Right. And in fact, he thinks these concepts might end up being like discovering genes was in biology, the adinkras and the like coded shapes then stuff like that is like almost like discovering genes in biology where they put together that it's the genes that make the cells, which make the life forms, where adinkras are like the genes of math or even
Gotcha.
like the genes of the universe. And just to maybe try and break through a little bit again. Here's one more quote for Jesse to read about that.
Who is this from?
This is from the same guy, S. James Gates.
So we found some kinds of objects that are more primitive than strings that ultimately I expect are going to be the genes of string theory too. So we've found some fundamental mathematical objects that, if supersymmetry is real, are going to be controlling the math that describes our universe. And for me, that's amazing. Because when I was young, I always wondered if I could find a magical piece of mathematics that was also an accurate description of nature. And so, if supersymmetry is discovered, I would have done exactly what I set out to do when I was younger.
Yeah.
I guess that I like that quote because, one, it says, we don't know if supersymmetry is real or not, but two, it really stresses the fact that mathematics is our way of understanding the universe.
Yeah.
And we're putting ones and zeros onto shit we don't understand. Like, we get computers because we make computers, so we're putting ones and zeros onto things because that's how we understand math. And that's how we understand the universe. So when people talk about, like, the universe could be the Matrix because there's ones and zeros, well, that's our basic understanding of what is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so I think that extrapolating that to I see ones and zeros in a laser, I'm like, I don't know if I go that far, bro. But I understand the desire to take math and use it to understand better what's going on, to create like this guy.
The notion of an elemental building block of math is very cool.
Isn't dark matter kind of like dark matter exists as a theory that we're getting closer to proving, I think, but it was a theory because math couldn't count on or what the rest of the universe is made out of, and our mathematics literally fall apart. So there must be something, and so they mathematically theorize dark matter. Essentially,
or is there a difference between dark matter and figuring out new math? We don't know.
I mean, we might discover there's a whole new math we have to learn.
That's what quantum.
I'm not gonna learn that shit.
That might be what quantum is all about, right? Learning this new,
like,
that's what it is, really. Yeah, it's all new math.
Yeah.
But that is the DMT laser experiment.
Cool.
Yeah, the only way to really truly know is to do it ourselves. Honestly,
it's a date. 3 days from now.
I'm down.
3 years from now on this.
We may be in a
3 days.
3
Yeah,
days from
holy
now.
shit.
Yeah. if Los Angeles hasn't completely burnt to the ground in 3 days, we'll meet and do DMT together. But for now, let's move on to One Mark Inc. Okay. That's the next installment in our
One
Cornerfest.
Mark Inc.
Yeah, and I know Mathis is almost definitely a yes on this because I think it was actually you who sent me this mystery in the first place. But are you boys at least somewhat familiar with
this?
Well, you will in a minute. Are you boys at least, I'm sure you are you at least somewhat familiar with the Admiral Wilson, Dr. Eric Davis, the Wilson
Davis memo? Yeah.
I'm sure Mathis could go on and on about this.
It was broad thing. It was leaked. People thought it was fake for a long time. Was confirmed to be real by the government like a year or two ago.
Yeah, here's a quote that is like very succinct about it for Mathis to read right here.
The document, which emerged publicly in 2019, purports to reveal a secret meeting with the then director of the Defense Intelligence Agency outlining a labyrinth of secret government programs hidden from top officials in congressional oversight committees about crash UFO materials and efforts to re-engineer the technology. The claims have been hotly debated among ufologists, but never corroborated. The DIA director at the time, Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson, has reportedly denied it all. Numerous national security experts and researchers have also dismissed it as a hoax, but one of the other primary individuals cited that in the document, astrophysicist Eric Davis, has not directly addressed it in public, only fueling suspicions that there might be more to it. I thought there was more development on this last year or so, but maybe
that's kind of what we're going to get into right now. So,
okay.
Here's the Wilson Davis memo if you guys want to see it. It's like the PDF of it. But the part that's really
interesting now too, having known that in like Immaculate Constellation, like is a real thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's just
it underlines
really
some of this stuff.
It's the compartmentalization. It hides
and a lot of the
everything.
stuff that's over the years has just kind of followed the same like lore as this, but you know, who knows?
Yeah, it's not just this area of government that's over compartmentalized too. Like not just the UFO world. It's
just a great way of carrying out something without anybody knowing about it, basically. Yeah.
So here's the. You want me to read it? I want. Do you want to go back and forth?
Well, we're going to do the whole thing. So the part that's really important for us today comes from a Reddit post that you sent me, Mathis, on our UFO from user Velka is your mom. Which I'll link you guys that in the show notes.
This has been a while back.
Yeah, it focuses mainly on one specific part of the memo at the end of a letter written to that astrophysicist, who again is called Eric Davis, from Commander Will Miller, who is retired, who is from the U.S. Naval Reserve, where at the very end, after discussing tons of crazy shit, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, he makes a very specific request, which Jesse will read for us now.
Finally, I have a request. I'm trying to locate a company in Las Vegas, Nevada, which some years ago manufactured a specialized disabling pepper spray for the military and law enforcement. The company was called One Mark Inc. That's 2300 West Sahara Avenue, Street?
Suite?
No. Suite 500. And I knew its VP, a Mr. Joe Zuccaro. Any help in locating him and or the company would be appreciated. Best regards, Will Miller.
So obviously, the main reason we're here today is to look into this weird ass company, One Mark, because that's what the name of this fucking segment is.
I'm now remembering this.
But before we do, thanks to Reddit's own user Quantum Cryogenics, we can at least start ourselves off by trying to legitimize ourselves with a fairly solid corroboration of facts that I haven't seen anyone else mention other than in this thread. But to do that, I also need to go back and have Mathis read the beginning of this same Miller to Davis letter, which is supposedly from April of 2002, by the way, which goes like this. And I'm sorry it's a chunker, Mathis, but it's got a lot on the bone.
Oh, good.
So we're going to go deep on this one. I'm going to drop this one in the Twitter for you.
First, I must ask you if you and or Hal would be interested in meeting Mr. Bob Beckwith in Tallahassee, Florida, the evening of May 30th. Bob has been invited to meet with the head of the Florida Academy of Sciences and the director of the High Magnetic Field Laboratory for a roundtable discussion of his, Mr. Beckwith's, force model of the universe and his planned experiments in LTT, levitation, teleportation, and time travel, among other subjects. I believe that the meeting date is now firm, but that will be determined in a conference call Thursday, 25th of April. Next, let me respond to a few of your and Hal's previous questions. I would be willing to assist you and Hal with your ongoing research into UFO crash retrievals and the entities within the government or outside of it that are involved in that business with the following caveats. First, there must be MIST B. It spells MYST.
Yeah.
Be absolutely no mention or association of my name with your work or investigation. I have absolutely nothing to gain from such an association at this time and possibly too much to lose. Second, I would charge you only for the actual time I spend in putting together materials, references, or contact lists for you to pursue. I would expect that time to be minimal since that initial information would not take long to put together, probably less than 8 hours. My standard rate for such work is 180 per straight time hour. Third, nothing I would provide you would be classified from a national security perspective. Although I have held a top secret TS clearance with access to special compartmented information, SCI, and other special clearances for other programs, special and other are in quotes, I currently do not work in the classified realm, nor do I hold those clearances. As I discussed with you, only by means of working on a current classified government contract and having the, quote, need to know, and thus requesting my previous clearances be reinstated by DOD, would I again work in the classified realm. Essentially, he's saying at the end there is like, unless you're working in classifications and anything, you've got no access to shit.
Right, exactly. So this perks some people up, especially mention of this Bob Beckwith guy. But sure enough, according to this site archive from Beckwith Electric's website from February of 2002, William Miller, this guy that wrote this letter, really was working as a sales rep for Bob Beckwith. So here's a link to the archive site, which somebody just in the comments found. I'll toss in the show notes for you to peruse at your leisure. But look at this stuff.
The great thing about the internet is like nothing truly disappears.
True warriors found this. Check out what it says about their BER or Beckwith Electric Research Division.
Did you link?
Jesse's going to read that for us now. I'll give the link in just a second.
Okay.
Founded last year, BER is a division of Beckwith Electric Company that conducts research at the forefront of present-day engineering and physics. Extension of the principles of engineering into the world of science yields some surprising implications and is the basis for the newly established division.
Yeah. So this stuff is officially unverified, so take it with a grain of salt. But if this is a fake, whoever did it must have been doing their homework, because there's just tons and tons of actual, concrete, undiscovered ways that lots of this stuff just syncs right up. And let me get you that link right now, because it's kind of, you might want to have it to look at if you have a chance. So let me just grab that for you really quick. Because it's an archive site.
It's this kind of shit that's like, makes this stuff difficult to follow unless you're really doing deep research. And then when you do discover it, it makes you sound insane.
Yeah, Mathis,
feels crazy.
So when you sent this to Alex, what was the implication? What was the thought process you had? What were you like?
I don't remember.
Dude, this is this.
I don't even remember.
We're gonna get
it
into
was such a
what's weird
long
about
time
this,
ago. Like I couldn't even remember when I sent it to him.
Yeah, this is obvious. This is about to get very specifically weird, but there's the site if you want to see it.
Yep, there it
is. They had
originally
this special cutting edge research division, basically.
I think I was probably sending this to him because the Wilson Davis memo was already known.
Yeah.
And this was coming out to prove that the Wilson Davis memo had some weight behind it, that it wasn't like a weird made up thing. Because this was during the time where it was still just a leaked rumor and everybody was denying it except for Davis, who was saying nothing.
Right. But just to corroborate this a little bit further, check this out also, kind of as a sidebar. Here is what is supposedly Bob Beckwith's report, archived from AmericanAntiGravity.com in April of 2008, which is starting to become a hot button topic again, anti-gravity propulsion.
Tangentially just attached, because like UFO world is just like, where I'm at. That's one of the biggest theories as to how the UFOs, if they're real and nuts and bolts, move around, is gravitic, like magnetic engine stuff that we have been trying to crack for a long time. We've been trying to fuck with gravity, like magnetic rather engines type stuff for like 50 years or more. And we're starting to have some interesting breakthroughs. Yeah,
we'll see. You can read over this whole thing in
this
your
website.
Show notes.
Looks like the websites I dive into for like fucking.
This is a PDF.
Atlantis.
This is his actual report that was on the TTL or whatever it was, LTT, the like levitation, teleportation, time travel thing. This is that report. It's a nice chunky PDF. But here's Jesse again with just an excerpt of the review that came along with it by somebody called Tim Ventura, which is titled The Other Philadelphia Experiment.
This website is so bright, like goofy bright.
I'm going to do a huge deep dive, maybe 2 episodes into Tesla one day.
Yeah, absolutely worth it.
Is the classic Philadelphia experiment tale really a cover for a more mysterious project designed by Nikola Tesla? Beckwith Electric CEO Bob Beckwith claims to have been a participant in the Philadelphia experiment as a GE engineer working on field coils for what he claims is a real test platform. A smaller vessel. I guess at the time this was okay.
Yeah, I think so.
A smaller vessel named the USS Martha's Vineyard with naval designation IX-97. This 45-page overview, also available for $20 in hardcover, states that the Philadelphia experiment, as reported by Moore and Berlitz, may have actually been a cover story for a project developed by Dr. Edward Teller and Nikola Tesla. This well-written book provides a great deal of historical data relevant to support Beckwith's statements. And it's worth a read just for the background on Tesla alone. Beckwith writes about far more than just Tesla, though. In his story, the inventor is a key participant in a secret experiment involving a naval minesweeper, dubbed the IX-97, which Beckwith claims himself to have worked on. Beckwith's story also contains photos, scans of historical documents, and security clearances to document Beckwith's credentials, and details on the Allied development of early naval stealth technologies, and about all those hats that were teleported into the forest. So many teleported hats.
That's the thing, though. This guy is the guy who would be tapped to do this. He has the expertise. He has the research company. He is the guy that would do this. He's a very interesting guy. But he passed away
I don't understand how the Philadelphia experiment would act for a cover of something nobody knows exists in the first place.
He was saying that like there was a project similar to the Philadelphia experiment, but that the Philadelphia experiment is like a fake version of it that occludes the real one, basically. But he died in 2009. Here's his obituary, which I will put in the show notes. It's worth reading. But after just a little while sharing his research online, he died. I'll share it with you. He seems to be connected to this in some ways well, but now that we've slightly legitimized the memo a little bit more, maybe with some real world facts and some figures, I'll leave it up to you if we actually did. But let's talk about this weird ass company, One Mark, now, because this is some crazy shit. Starting with, do they have a website? Yes, they do. Here it is, right here. It's still up.
This was the thing I think was making me go crazy when I was coming across this. Was like this, the fact that it was like, oh wait, this actually exists.
We didn't have a talk about how all these websites that we link to literally look like they were made in GeoCities. Every single one.
Same HTML1 as the Crossfire Gambit from the So Joanna book, though.
In this case, 1993 founded like company.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like this. The latest date anywhere on the site is 2011. Which is a long time
for
ago.
2011 to have a website that looks like this is out of control.
But like the news page not updated since 1997. Like literally. Also, it's strange because they also seem to have had their business status listed as permanently revoked since 2002, which you can confirm with this link right here on opencorporates.com. And anyway, take a second look at their products page for a second. And every single one of them is super weird and seems super fake. If you look into it, though, most of them really do seem like they're real. and that you could buy them, and some of them still may be available. One of them was like given away as like a goodie bag item at like the Emmys or something one year. It's super weird, but like look at them. Look at what they say. They're so fucking strange. Like I genuinely have no idea.
Here's the Pocket Pro. Pocket Pro R is our unique 100% hands-free, directable and concealable LED. Pocket Pro directs light where you need it via an adjustable light arm, all the while keeping your hands free to undertake any task. Pocket Pro is ultra light, weather resistant, and has features that others cannot match due to its advanced design circuitry. For instance, Pocket Pro incorporates super bright LEDs and has a built-in battery saver feature. It is available with red, white, blue, or green LEDs. Pocket Pro uses 2 long-life replaceable lithium coin cells included in the unit. It is so good it comes with the best warranty in the business, 1 year under normal use. Pocket Pro clips into the pocket.
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.
Pocket lapel, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's just...
They're all just like little shitty, like something that like your dad would like put in your stocking or something. Like,
So interestingly enough about this is it reminds me of, and has the exact same quality as, do you remember those, are you an inventor? If you
Yes.
have an inventor,
Yeah.
it has the same vibe as those people that would try to get you to submit their inventions to them, and then they'd market and sell it for you. And this, because every single one of them is kind of the same but different. Like Vinny's Wild Whiffs, pet cologne.
big, cutchy key lime pie energy on Vinny's Wild Whiffs.
Yeah, like, and then the Alaska Mist is, it's Alaska Mist, natural Alaskan glacier water that you spray on yourself.
Oh.
And we gave it out at the 63rd
Emmys.
Emmy Awards. Like, what?
There's an FAQ says, can we become a dealer or distributor? And say, please call us at an 800 number. I'm going to call it real quick. We'll see what happens. I'll put on speakerphone.
Just for the record, people who have called this number have reported one ring and then busy.
Okay, let's see what happens. Immediately. It's like it says call failed.
Oh, wow. Number done. Number dead.
What's interesting is that it says other interesting sites. And when you click on it, it's for the hold on, I'm going to all these. Finest real defense stuff. Nope, that one, the first one immediately sends that.
We'll get there in a minute. Don't worry. We'll cover all of those weird ass websites.
What?
Yeah, we'll get there.
So no longer works.
First thing first, yeah, that's probably because they were their business.
What the fuck rabbit hole are we going down?
So this
do not click these links, Mathis. Do not click them.
So
which one?
None of them.
None of them. Don't click. They will flag so hard for viruses. Do not.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Business license was permanently revoked since 2002 on this business, but their follow-up company, which seems to have existed only after 2002. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. It's listed only as a branch of the original company, but it is only seems to have existed after the company. It's called One Mark Consumer Products, Inc., where consumer products is one word in the title. But that was terminated around 2010. That also exists on that consumer website. You can click from the link I gave you to that one if you wanted to see it. But rather than the Las Vegas address that we've been seeing on the weird site,
Phone number, bro.
this one's address is listed in Ventura, California. I'm not going to say the exact address publicly on air, but you can easily look it up if you really want to. First things first, the link to the documents filed regarding the termination of the company, which is listed as a certificate of surrender by foreign corporation, and which I can no longer find anywhere it's not listed anywhere anymore. Like there's a link to it with the California Secretary of State office that's dead. And if you visit the new address for the California Secretary of State office archive and you put in the ID number, it says that no filing exists or no document exists. I don't know. But here's the crazy thing is the business itself. If you visit the address now on Google Maps, as I'll show you right now, I know it's not definitive as evidence, but look what it says on the sign at the office park.
What the hell?
What does it say?
Lockheed Martin.
It does. So on Yelp, On Yelp, that unit where one mark is supposed to be is listed as Unit C. So it would only take me like an hour to get to Ventura and check if you want me to confirm that Lockheed is also in Unit
love
C.
You to. That's insane, but it makes so much. I feel crazy. I feel crazy, Alex.
Yeah. Also, the Joe Zucchero name from the memo that we read earlier.
So that's the one mark business address gives you the exact suite and everything.
The only thing I can't check is the suite.
Okay.
Without being there.
What's also really weird is that this area, there's like nothing there, dude.
It's Ventura, man. That's the whole point. It's like that sort of faceless.
Look at Battelle Memorial Institute, like specifically, they're also in like just a nowhere part, like outside Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. So also Joe Zucchero from the memo that we read earlier, the Davis memo, Zucchero with an A is not the same exactly, but close enough to the most recent owner of One Mark's. The name of the owners, it's Vincent Zucchero with an E is the most recent owner of One Mark, but Joe Zucchero is the character from the memo. So I think it's some kind of typo there. And even the parent company of the new One Mark, which is a company called Hotlines Inc., which is also out of Nevada, was dissolved 2 years ago in December of 2022. So there is nothing left. And speaking of things that dissolved 2 years ago, that non-lethal spray, Bodyguard Plus, on the One Mark site, from the best of what I can tell, based on the name of their ballpoint pen-sized Reliapen spray model. If you go to the products that One Mark sells and you read it, it says the Reliapen spray model. And then that's probably connected to this very poorly made site for a company called Reliapon, which is in the other interesting site section on the One Mark site, which is fucking weird. And on that site says the quote, "We believe you will also find the following sites of interest. Please visit them and see for yourself," with 3 exclamation marks. And what's weird is that the Reliapon link worked even the other day while I was checking this out for research. And now I can only access it through this archive from 2022, which I will share for you now so you can see the actual Reliapon website, which is not the weird mess that's there now.
Yeah, do not go there now.
Yeah. However,
yeah.
Nothing on the Reliapon website directly connects to anything else we've been looking at, other than if you go to the About Us page at Reliapon. It says that Reliapon was also located in Ventura, California. And when I looked it up, it was also located at the same office park as One Mark and Lockheed Martin. So that's another thing that I found. They're all located in the same office park. And then another bizarre random connection is that there is one mention of a Joe Zucchero as different from Vincent, except with the E instead of the A. So now we're talking about Joe Zucchero, and that there's only one connection with him and the One Mark website, also through the other interesting sites page, which is on a site called lovemainelobsters.com, which if you click it is still online. If it's still online by the time this airs, which it was, I think, yesterday.
It is. I checked.
It teases us with, quote, "The best of Love Maine Lobsters is coming in 2020. A fun new website is in the works."
I must stress, I detected multiple viruses, so just be careful if you click that.
Yeah, don't go to lovemainelobsters.com, but it's there. And then if you want to see Joe, head to the About Us page on that site, where there's a message which Mathis is going to read for us now. And I'll just drop it here so you don't have to visit it if you don't want. Here you go.
For the past 20 years, lovemainelobsters.com dedicated itself to providing tantalizing Maine lobster gift packages of the highest quality. However, we now feel it's time for a change. No, we are not going away, but instead we are going to reinvent ourselves by celebrating our love of Maine lobster on a new site and improved gift site. The new site will be a little quirky and a lot of fun, so please come back and visit. And we would certainly be remiss if we did not give a big thank you to all our wonderful Maine lobster customers over the past 2 decades. So from our family, pictured 20 years ago, to
picture,
yours,
by the way,
there is no picture. Thank you. Sincerely, Joe Zucchero, President, lovemainelobster.com, Joe at lovemainelobsters.com.
Yeah. So the only mention of this guy on the actual One Mark website who's supposed to own the fucking company is that he's the president of the about to relaunch lovemainelobsters.com, which somebody is still paying registration for. But anyway, yeah, there's also a number which I'm not going to say on here, even though it's easy to find yourself. But if you call it, can confirm, just like several of the comments said, it rings once and goes to a busy signal. I'm not sure if that's the same number that you called, but mine definitely rang once and went straight to a busy signal. Also, according to a user called fucking Chuck Clark, there's a killer sushi burrito place nearby to this office address in Ventura, which, to the best of my understanding, is most likely Pokeland at 1780 Victoria Avenue in Ventura. So, at least if I go over there and find literally fucking nothing, not even a sign that says Lockheed Martin anymore, I'll have somewhere tasty to try for lunch. And Ventura's kind of pretty sometimes. You could check out the Mission Basilica San Buenaventura while you're there. It's a nice, relaxing monument to what was at best unchecked Spanish colonialism, but also a nice place to enjoy a bittersweet sushi burrito. Originally founded in 1782, which is much older than lots of other stuff around it. Hopefully, if it's still standing by the time this episode airs. Pokeland in Ventura. Here's a link to it.
So the implication here from this story is that this is all part of like a cover up for UFO stuff.
It's a UFO reverse engineering and advanced technology company that's mixed up in this whole thing with One Mark, and that maybe the One Mark with the dumb doohickeys is sort of like a cover for whatever business they're actually doing with Lockheed Martin.
Sure. I guess the thing I don't understand is why you would create any products at all. Like, why make a website? Why create products?
Just to be legit. Just to have a paper trail.
But like, why couldn't you just say, I work with Lockheed Martin and we do testing? That's it.
Because you're just some people do that, but I think that maybe just because of what the company needs to do, maybe One Mark moves stuff around. For example, maybe they need to ship stuff.
I mean, it seems there's like a lot of
probably
extra
just a shell
work.
company.
There's just a lot of implications to it. Is the point? The point is that obviously there's an address that is currently says Lockheed Martin. One time said One Mark.
Moving money through like contract shell company is. They would do that to avoid raising any flags of them just giving the money directly from the government to Lockheed, or Lockheed suddenly getting money out of nowhere.
Right. That
would flag flags of the IRS or whoever that's not directly involved in what's happening. Yeah. So if you move it as a contract,
I'd rather buy
20,000
no one's going to look
of the fucking pepper spray for my troops and pay.
That kind of shit.
So the implication then is money was given to Lockheed Martin secretly by the government, and then they used some of that money to create Alaska water spray to then give out at the 63rd annual Academy Awards.
Wait, is that what?
Yeah, to legitimize themselves. Yeah.
Like, that's insane sounding.
I know, but look, like the evidence just connects them in a way that is super bizarre.
In MK Ultra, the government set up their own whorehouse, hired their own hookers, and like use them and drugs.
They've got some panache, these government types.
Yeah, but like that had a goal. Like the goal of that objective that
I don't know the answer to like why these shady things are occurring.
It just seems crazy that they like the logical leaps of then they did this and then this and this is connected. It all sounds shady. Shady as hell for reasons I'm not sure I understand.
What do you think is like a simpler explanation?
Oh, I mean, to me, it sounds like shell companies within shell companies to hide money laundering is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think it extends to UFO stuff yet, but it is weird.
The only reason
it's super weird.
The only reason it extends to UFO stuff is because it's being mentioned in a memo where they're writing about UFO stuff. There's nothing about the situation or anything.
That guy says, I need to get in contact with that company. Yeah. It's just very strange. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I was surprised to see that Lockheed Martin's current address in that office park, if it's still there, is connected to two separate companies that are related.
Do we want to read through the memo? It's like a page and a half.
No, it's not. It's pretty long.
No, it's a big memo.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true.
But that's the mystery of One Mark. There's not too many answers. Yeah. There's lots of specifics. It swerves into a lot of different flavors depending on where you look. But it just kind of gives me an uncanny, creepy feeling in general. Makes me wonder. Feels not totally fake. That's the best I can say about it. And I bet you never heard it, that mystery before.
Yeah, there's something real going on there. I just don't know what the real is, but it's very weird. Yeah. It definitely seems like there's some bad people trying to do some bad things for sure. I just don't know what.
Up next.
And if you've never read the Wilson Davis memo, go read it. It's worth it.
It's in the show notes. Yeah, give it a look.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Next one is called Sticker Star. And this entry was kind of inspired by the episode we did recently about Nintendo 64 mysteries with Pat Contry, who came on the show, friend of the pod. In that episode, we focus mainly on the concept that the internet as a living, breathing entity can like create its own mythology where there was none before, based on a mix of like different people's opinions, an ongoing game of information telephone over the years, lots of different beliefs exchanging and, building up your own lore. But as we were doing it, another thing that became really interesting to me was this notion that like aside from us, the audience, having that experience, little creative choices by like one or two people on a Japanese creative team, which is like even further removed from like the English speaking audience who's consuming the game, decades ago, making a creative decision without any intent besides coolness, blossoming into like a real urban legend or something crazy like that. And just to give you an example of what I'm talking about before I get into the little mystery we're talking about here, like take the deceased soldier that you find in the hallway on your way to fight Kraid in Super Metroid on Super Nintendo. Obviously, this game came out a long time ago, so for 21 years now, people have been walking past this guy's dead body without any answers and just sort of, whether or not they're being conscious about it or not, coming up with an idea of what they think this guy's all about in their brain. Something, they are contextualizing it in some way, right? So that's been happening for millions of people for 20 years.
Fallout 3 did that amazingly as well.
And just in case, if you want to see what I'm talking about, here's the sprite that I'm talking about. And that's really all you get. But of course, to the audience, it's an unanswered question. Jesse, I think you were the one who told me about the tank, where it's like you're watching three tanks and then one of them like leaves and you never tell anybody where it goes because it like will be like an unanswered question for years to come on the internet.
Yeah, it's what the Dead Space devs talked about in their talk they had about making games, and they learned that from watching another team make a game. And that's why they included a bunch of like weird shit in their game and they just didn't ever answer it.
Yeah, really interesting. And players start to draw lines between things. For example, in the Super Metroid Player's Guide, they're always talking about lost adventurers on the planet Zebes who end up murdered by space pirates. So that's now something that shows up on the Wikipedia page for this deceased soldier on the Metroid Wiki, because of course he has a page on the Metroid Wiki. And then, suddenly there's discourse about super specific stuff that seems almost too much, right? Like whether this humanoid creature might have sea cucumber blood to explains why he bleeds yellow. But just to show you I'm not messing around, here's Jesse with a quote to show you just how serious people take some of this shit.
Another potential blood type would be iridium-based blood. However, this would indicate that there is a lack of oxygen in the room and therefore unlikely, although the yellow blood does appear to be more orangish tint than Samus's power suit coloration. Also, the dead individual would have to have died within days, as iridium-based blood would be highly photosensitive and would degrade from orange, its oxygenated color, to green before finally reaching a deep bluish black. As the compound would take an atom of oxygen per molecule to change from its deoxygenated yellow state to a sullen orange, the reaction is not quite as quickly as, say, cobalt complexes. Thereby, meaning the corpse would have to possess a more convoluted lung system than any human would be accustomed to.
So I'm not sure if that's real science. I'm sure some people out there will let us know, but some people sure do love to go deep, and all that happened was some guy decided to put a dead body there, right? It's pretty crazy.
I mean, Star Wars is rife with that kind of thing too.
Oh, sure. Big.
Kind of love
Star Wars. It's like they do it, and then like George Lucas himself was like, "Let's make a show out of that fucking guy that drives by." But then, as another example of something similar, have you guys heard of the Hell Valley Sky Trees? I think we talked about them a little bit with Pat, actually.
The Hell Valley Sky Trees?
Basically, in World 5 of Super Mario Galaxy 2 for Nintendo Wii, or even more specifically, the Shiverburn Galaxy level of World 5. At any point, if you use the first-person camera to look at the skybox in the background of the stage, if you track the edges of the mountainous terrain, you'll eventually be able to make out the outline of some characters on the like edge of the line that look just like this. I'll give you the link there. There's three of them. There's one tall, two short ones.
Yes, I've seen this before.
Yes. They look like some kind of little ghost outlines. If you look at the texture in the game file, you'll see actually the texture is actually just two of them, and that the second set is just positioned lower. You can just barely see the fourth head sticking up over the ridge if you look at it there.
Yep.
Though here's the isolated texture at full res. And like I said, this will all be in the show notes so you guys can follow along if you want to see this. There's the isolated texture of two of them, but nobody exactly knows what they were, of course. Only unified theory anyone can agree on about them is that they kind of remind some people of the Japanese tree spirits that are called Kodama. Although low-key, I think people are just kind of being reminded specifically of the ones from the movie Princess Mononoke, and that's why they're saying it, and that they're not really talking about Kodama if you Google that shit. But the name itself Hell Valley Sky Trees is simply called that because that's what the name is in the game files. The mountain texture is called Beyond Hell Valley Sky, all one word, and the little guys themselves are also all one word called Hell Valley Sky Tree, right? And interestingly, a really similar figure showed up in 2021 in the trailer for WarioWare Get It Together, which appears during what seems to be one of the mini games in WarioWare Get It Together for the Switch. Here's a clip of this guy, and you can actually, if you want to see a moving clip of him, there's actually a clip from the trailer where he actually shows up. You can describe this guy. I think he looks pretty much exactly the same. I don't think it has anything to do with it, but I think he looks damn the same.
Yeah, he definitely shows up in the background. He's there.
Yeah, I haven't played that WarioWare game, but my brother said it was good. I love the idea of our listeners banding together to help us solve something. So let me know if anyone has the game, has ever seen him. Okay, would love to know what that thing's called in the game files if somebody's ever pulled the game files apart for that WarioWare game. Because maybe if that also said something about Hell Valley, we'd have some kind of lead to go on, right? You know how it works. But that reminds me back to the main mystery that we're going to talk about really quick. It's a short one. First things first, it's kind of like these ones I just mentioned, but I would also say that based on its specific nature, that maybe it's a version of one of these that's slightly more solvable. I don't know. I'm sure you'll have a theory on it by the end of this. But like for me, the coolest thing that could happen here is that we wield the power of the Chilluminati listenership as a mystery solving body in the style of like Unsolved Mysteries and solve this thing, right? And I know because all of us here come from a background in video game content, there's a high concentration of gamers listening into the show right now. So the question is, do you guys, as we go through this, do you guys have any insight to share on this mystery? Basically, it's just a one post thing. It was posted to our Paper Mario by the user Real Toad Pilskopf, who simply wrote, quote, "I can't stop thinking about this," and included a screenshot of a post from @MarioBrothBlog, aka Supper Mario Broth, which is a great website for obscure Mario content, really, genuinely, including this tweet, which Mathis will say for us right now. And then I'll send you a picture of it.
Was there a Nintendo, not Nintendo necessarily, but as a kid, a video game mystery that you thought was real, that you spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out if you could either do it, or is there one that sticks out?
The most famous one, Aerith, easy.
Me too. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Months.
Same era, pretty much.
Yeah, well, it made sense because it was like, how can you get a weapon for Aerith after Aerith is gone from the game?
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's no way it doesn't make any sense. And it was just,
them being
that's how they did it. Yeah. All right, here we go. In Paper Mario Sticker Star, a paper reading XD3R B8HH 9ZR2 FL16 can be found in World 5.1. To this day, the purpose of this message remains unknown. Despite being in the right format, it is not a valid code for any Nintendo service. If it is encrypted, the code is yet unsolved.
Yeah, and also, just because I didn't want to be made a fool of, I cross-referenced the Let's Play by X-Cage Game just to make sure it actually was in the game, as they said. I linked the exact moment that he grabbed it. I'll have that for you in the show notes, so you can watch it along with the boys who are going to watch it right now. If you guys want to see it, it should happen like pretty much instantly when you get there. And again, just as a reminder, when I say that something is going to be in the show notes, that means it should be readable anywhere official in the same app where you're listening to the podcast in the podcast episode description. Can you guys see that? It's like it should happen like almost immediately.
Yeah, what is that?
You're in like, basically in context, this note is found in an area filled with piles of trash.
Sure.
And so you're like kind of in a junkyard and there's like all kinds of scraps everywhere. And according to the Mario Wiki, the scrap with the serial code on it in the trash area is just one of 45 different scraps of trash that Mario can dig up and read, and they appear randomly to Mario in no set order. So among them are tons of little funny notes that reference other moments in the game, 6 addresses for positions at a place called the Mushroom Business Association that says things like, quote, Mushroom Business Association, General Affairs Division, Soda Branch, Section Chief, Toad. And they're all name tags for Toad, and it might just be like a bit that Toad is rising through the ranks or whatever. There's 2 coupons for a 30-minute shoulder massage. There's preservation instructions for several unknown items. There's a letter from Parakarry from Paper Mario 1. There's 2 references to Goombella from Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. There's a chain letter. There's 5 readings for the sticker horoscope, whatever the fuck that is. There's 2 sets of lottery numbers, and there's a bunch of generic, cryptic, slightly funny items and lines. I'm not going to read them all, but on the off chance that any of them relate to this one, I'll include a link to the chart with all the slips on it. I'll include a link to the chart. It's on the wiki page for World 5.1 of Paper Mario Sticker Star, which is called Shy Guide Jungle. You can check it out right there. There's a whole table with all these slips of paper on it. Most people also noticed that it's the correct amount of characters to be a Nintendo eShop code, and it should be mentioned that it could honestly just be a really obtuse fake eShop code joke, or something like somebody already redeemed it. Like maybe it was real, maybe it had $50 on it or something, and somebody just redeemed it without telling anybody.
And that's why it's in the trash. Sure.
Yeah. But according to Nintendo.com support, O, I, and Z aren't used in eShop codes because they're too confusing. And this code has a Z in it, so I doubt it's an eShop code at all. So that's all stuff we already know. Here's what we want to know, though, or some possible lines of investigation where I'm lacking the proper expertise in myself to solve it. First of all, does anyone recognize the format of this code as anything at all? Again, that code, one more time, with dashes in between every 4 letters, is XD3R B8HH 9ZR2 FL16. So that's one thing. And then secondly, is that some sort of cryptography? Is there some sort of hidden message there? I've seen some people take a crack at it. I don't think anybody's made any real progress. I've plugged it into several cryptographic solve things. I've had some brute force attempts to fix it, but I haven't been able to solve anything. I'm afraid I lack the ability to definitively answer either of these questions myself. But if you or anyone you know has any information that could lead to the revelation of this code's purpose, leave a tip on the official Chilluminati subreddit at r/ChilluminatiPod.
Like, knowing that it shows up in the trash, I really like seeing all the other like notes you can get. I do like the idea that it's like a used code that kind of feels like a joke, like a lot of the other ones are. It feels like it makes the most sense, actually. Now that you mention it, it's not something I would think of.
In context, that's the only thing that I can to make it mundane and pointless. That's the only thing I can think of. But
to make it boring, But
it very well could be like also the notion of a secret code hidden in a random paper slip generator of trash is kind of cool, right? And
interesting.
One more reason to love Sticker Star.
There's a whole other thing as well. So, according to Reddit, there's a similar code in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
Yes.
And someone said, "Can you elaborate? Where's that code?" And he's like, "It's the Yoshi Island level, a pile of shroob rubble, and paper can be searched through. One of them has a code, exact same format. I can't find any topics on it right now." And then someone said, "All right, where is it? Do you have a picture?" And then just no response.
In what game?
It says Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
Yeah, so that's another one. I didn't have the
This
Mario
is
and
from
Luigi.
12 years ago. So that's interesting.
I didn't have the name of the proper Mario and Luigi, but that's another avenue. Like if somebody has that game, say exactly where it is again?
It's in the shroob area in trash pile. Same thing.
Great.
On Yoshi's Island.
So there you go. There's a step. Try and solve this. I can't solve this code. I don't know what it is. I have had no breakthrough. But that is...
The fact that this is supposedly another code. I want to see if we can get it.
That's the mystery of Sticker Star. Up next. Yeah. Up next. AI Reporter. Here we go. So this next one is probably the most recent entry on this list since it's only a month or so old. And I actually found it on Blue Sky, which did you know we're actually on Blue Sky and Twitter now? You should probably follow us on both now. Anyway,
Blue Sky's fucking great.
Yeah, it's nice. Sky. I like the algorithm control that you have. But anyway, here is the skeet, which Jesse will read for you now from professor, archaeologist, Egyptologist, and award-winning writer of books, Dr. Sarah Parchak.
Okay. The skeet, chapter 1. Oh, skeet. Sorry.
And thank you. It's been in my head the minute he said it.
To the wall. All right. So I just went down a Lance Elliott rabbit hole. He's not real. He's AI. No one of that name exists in real life. There are Reddit threads dedicated to deep dives on him that show he is an AI. Someone needs to expose at Forbes.com for this total scam. Pre-2018, Lance Elliott does not exist. I know this story. I love this. Oh, wow.
So
I don't know this story, and I'm excited.
So first of all, who is Lance Elliott? Well, according to Reality, He is an AI scientist and consultant. He got a BA and a master's in computer science from Long Beach State, and he got a PhD from USC. And no, he's not an AI. I watched a clip of him on 60 Minutes last year, an uncomfortable looking man, and he does not look natural in a very nice suit, which he's wearing. But he is not a fake person. He is not a computer person. You can check it. If you have Paramount Plus, there's a link. You can see the clip that he is in on 60 Minutes to prove that he is a living, breathing human being. But still, there is just something is a little off about this guy. And I'm just going to give you a broad strokes because like this is a very new story and I don't want to like bring too much weird attention towards this guy or anything, but there's just something off. Look how weird his article and book publications are on LinkedIn, first of all. Like maybe I just don't understand how all this works, right? But to me, it seems like since 2018, he's published 55 huge books, sometimes multiple times in a day. And it doesn't even list his publications going back before that. And I know he's published more books than this because I've seen them. So if you look at this LinkedIn page, you will literally see these are all books. And you can see the page count, 448 pages, March 20th. Another one on March 19th, 454 pages, March 19th. February 28th, just a few months before, not even like a month before, 592 pages. December 24th, like a month or two before that, 2023, 476 pages. April 2023, two books on the same day that are over 400 pages. Just weird stuff. You can scroll and you can look and you can see if you have a LinkedIn account. It's just bizarre. And then while you're looking at that, look how often he publishes articles on Forbes and how weird his style is. So I'll send you one of his articles first. This one is just truly ugly in both title and prose. The title is about that mysterious AI breakthrough known as Q by OpenAI that allegedly attains true AI or is in the path towards artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, AGI is the scary thing. That's the thing. That's what these people are working toward, which is like they need to not. Is AGI, is general AI. It's a one that can rationalize. It's a one that's supposed to be able to.
It's not what we want.
It's
like
scary.
Us. But check this out. The style with which he writes does not feel human. Mathis, take this away.
In today's column, I am going to walk you through a prominent AI mystery that has caused quite a stir, leading to an incessant buzz across much of social media and garnering outsized headlines in the mass media. This is going to be quite a Sherlock Holmes adventure and sleuth detective exemplifying journey that I will be taking you on. This immediately just literally sounds like AI.
I know.
Like, it's amazing how you can just be like, yeah, that tastes like AI.
I know.
Please put on your thinking cap and get yourself a soothing glass of wine. The roots of the circumstance involve the recent organizational gyrations and notable business crisis drama associated with the AI maker OpenAI, including the off and on again firing and then rehiring of the CEO Sam Altman, along with a plethora of related carry-ons. My focus will not particularly be the comings and goings of the parties involved. I instead seek to leverage those reported facts primarily as telltale clues associated with the AI mystery that some believe sits at the core of the organizational earthquake. We shall start with the vaunted goal of arriving at the topmost AI. AI writes like I did in high school,
right?
Where I like discovered I could like use words to create like an image in your head.
It just doesn't feel like natural word choice or sentence construction to me is what it is.
Right.
And then here's another quote for Jesse to read. This one is from the article that got him all the attention in the first place, where people were saying he was fake. This article is called Holiday Pro Tip. Rely on ChatGPT AI at your Thanksgiving table to ease polarizing arguments and achieve a peaceful celebration.
Man, listen, if we're going to be fucked with AGI in our lives, can I at least see it in Dwarf Fortress first? Because I think that'd be kind of cool.
That's true.
You have such small needs and desires.
But beautiful ones.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. There are 4 key uses of generative AI to keep your family and guests on an even keel. 1. Notifications. Aids you in gently notifying attendees before about Thanksgiving serenity. Oof.
What does that mean?
Structure. Gives you pointers on structuring the celebration around heartfelt gratitude. Big oof. 3. Announcement. can draft your pre-dinner announcement that firmly sets the tone. 4. Conversations. Provides real-time conversation starters to avoid ruckus trouble.
Ruckus trouble.
Ruckus
That's what I'm saying. It's like, what the fuck word choice is that? Anyway.
That even feels a bad word choice for AI.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, like I would, as a teacher, the first thing I would do was either circle ruckus or circle trouble and be like, pick one.
It's word salad.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. An additional means of leveraging generative AI would be for you to use the AI on a role-playing basis to practice your diplomacy skills.
Oh, my good Lord.
This is easy to do. When you get into your generative AI app, merely tell the AI to pretend to be a challenging attendee. You would then try to placate or cope with the AI as it does all the polarizing antics that a person might pull. Think of this as your worst case scenario for what might happen during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Practicing for Doomsday could aid in averting it. Just remember that you are dealing with the AI at the juncture, and thus you can stop the AI from getting heated by command alone. That's unlikely to translate into doing the same with humans.
It just doesn't.
Good God,
it just doesn't
dude.
feel natural. And seriously, like, look at his contributor page on Forbes. It's nuts. Like, he writes huge pieces on AI for Forbes, like they're fluff pieces for Polygon. Like they're like look at
So
the
this
look at
picture of him is him, because I did look at that 60 Minutes
that's him.
Thing, and he's interviewing him. He looks like a man unable to cope with aging.
He's just
And
airbrushed as hell. And
yeah.
But look at the pace of these articles. 18 hours ago, January 6th, January 5th, January 4th, January 3rd, January 2nd, January 1st. He basically writes an article every single day.
It's definitely being written by AI.
He writes an article about AI every single day, and he puts out like multiple, like hundreds page long books a year about AI. But yes, as weird as they are, and as much as they smell like and taste like AI, there is not a single AI detector I can get to say that any of them used AI to be written. So I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say this man is AI. But damn.
The man is definitely not AI.
He's
The
weird.
man
He's weird
exists.
as hell
I
at
think
writing.
He uses AI, maybe.
I realize he's not here to write for beauty. I mean, I realize he's like a scientist just trying to like explain concepts in a way that the general people can understand, and that can be very hard with something like AI. I'm not trying to like disparage the man if he's just a real guy trying his best. But you got to admit that there's something strange about the tone, the vibe, the situation. And I just want to know, like, is that intriguing? Has your mystery taken flight? Like, does he seem like a con man? What is going on there? And if he doesn't seem like a con man, dare I suggest the romantic story we're all already imagining a little bit, where he's an AI expert who's created his own AI to write all his articles for him so that he either never has to work again or one day can reveal his triumph of AI to us all.
You know what's crazy? I'm looking on here, and I'm on Reddit, and this guy is like, obviously going down the rabbit hole a little too far, but he's talking about how Google is constantly recommending him the articles. And I just want to say, if we're going to do conspiracy theories, I would love it if we could do a conspiracy theory where, remember that dude who got fired from Google because he said Google made a living AI and it was sentient?
That it was sentient. Yeah.
What if this is it, dude? Just putting it out there. Fun
telling you,
conspiracy theory.
If there's a guy who's qualified, it's this guy. He's got all the books. He's an AI expert.
What if they made an AI expert and he's an AI? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's like still like so bad at what it's supposed to do. Like Google forces AI on you when you do Google searches because it has that like summary. It's still so fucking bad.
Can you turn it off? Can I just get an extension?
Can you? I would love to if you could. If it is, I'm sure you can maybe in the back end. I don't know.
The worst part about that is it will give you wrong answers because all it does, it isn't smart AI. All it does is it takes from websites and then gives you the rundown.
And it's like, by the way, I might be wrong.
The problem is a lot of the times websites are just incorrect information.
Yep.
Yeah, super sucky.
All it can do.
Super sucky. But Lance Elliott, all the love, but like, what's going on, man? Just let us know. If you're just like super prolific, I would just even love to hear from you. Like, I would love to hear what you think about people thinking.
Oh my God, is that why?
I would love to hear what you think about
the episode weren't on that fucking show. Did Google AI fuck me over and give me like wrong characters for the wrong show? I didn't even think about that because it just gives me like top. I just took it at the top.
Yeah, it literally just tells you what a website says.
Did you get AI, bro?
I got AI,
dude.
Fuck.
Who knows? But yeah, that's AI Reporter. This next one is called Walker and Rhodos. In late 2023,
Record of Lodos?
Record of Rhodos War. Walker of Rhodos War. In late 2023, I happened upon a video on the YouTube channel Coop. Honestly, lots of his more recent videos are pretty in line with the type of stuff I cover on here, and there's a lot of crossover between stuff that we've done.
Coop, you said?
Yeah, Coop. Lots of stuff that we've done in various dark corners, internet mystery episodes, and things he's done. There's some crossover there. However, he's not a huge channel. At this time of recording, he only has like 5K subs. And this video I found of his, which I'll include in the show notes, despite his slightly disappointing telegraph politics and some slight adherence to right-wing disinformation talking points in the script, it doesn't have anything to do with the topic, and you can completely sidestep it, but it's only 1,000 views or so on YouTube. But here's a link to that video, which will be in the show notes. But don't bother looking at it because I'm just going to tell you everything that happens in it. So let's talk about how the accidental death of Paul Walker and Roger Rhodos might not have been an accident at all. Ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Here's a quote from the forums.
I gotta be honest, not where I expected
Right?
this to go.
Right?
Yeah, me
Yeah,
either.
here's a quote from
Me
the
either.
forums on the weird truther site Godlike Productions that got this whole thing started for Math History. This just like somebody posted this. Just a rando posted this.
Paul Walker and his friend were killed shortly after they discovered a conspiracy to supply victims of Typhoon Haiyan.
Typhoon Haiyan. That's I don't know why that's
Typhoon Haiyan, okay. With a prototype permanent birth control drug hidden in medicinal supplies and food aid. They had a damning recording, and they were on their way to rendezvous with an ally who would have helped them get in touch with the right people. Turns out they were betrayed, and someone rigged their car's brakes to malfunction after a certain speed. Now that the loose end has been tied up and the recording destroyed, the people responsible have nothing to fear, as this will become another quote-unquote conspiracy theory that no one will take seriously.
So, of course, the poster's username was mysterious sounding. All lowercase unknown one was the name of this user. But strangely, when trying to go back and search that user to see their post history, Coop couldn't find any record that the account even existed on the site other than the one post. There was even, like when he did a lookup, there was an unknown one with a capital U, but no lowercase one exists in the database. And this is the only time that username ever existed, which means somebody typed it in as a temporary username. They didn't even comment a second time on the post's 4-page long thread that it spawned. They just did the one post and then they were out. So let's break it down, see what the vibe is. As far as the claim that they would be involved in providing aid to the victims of Typhoon Haiyan, that's probably 100% correct. In fact, I know it is, because in the wake of the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, Paul Walker actually founded a nonprofit called Reach Out Worldwide, which is such a Paul Walker name, to bring aid to victims. And the org did, in fact, go out to the Philippines when Typhoon Haiyan hit, where it hit as one of the deadliest ever typhoons ever on record in the Philippines. And that's a big deal for the Philippines because Philippines is one of the most naturally disastered places on the planet. That happened in November 2013, by the way, which is the same month where Paul Walker passed away. And the same month where this post was made. So then in the Coop video, he turns our attention to something that was originally pointed out in the comments of that original post from an anonymous poster in Canada who was mad at another Anon from America who was like, lol, to the whole story. And Jesse's going to now bring that poster to life for us through the magic of theater. Why didn't that?
Through the magic of
paste?
theater.
There we go.
Yeah? This has happened before in 1996. I wish I could beat you to a what?
Wow.
Wait, what?
Impressive, dude.
All right.
This is
yeah,
you
let
to me when I'm talking about
Let me
aliens.
get another take on this bad boy. Yeah? This has happened before in 1996. I wish I could beat you to a bloody pulp.
Yeah, that's the type of, he was like, a joke. You think this Paul Walker murder conspiracy is a joke? I wish I could kill you. Anyway, he also posted a link to a 1996 article from a newspaper called The Interim, which is an interesting newspaper from Canada, who Jesse will similarly personify by reading this excerpt from their About page, just to give you the correct idea of the article's tone.
Oh, good. Can't wait.
Oh, that's a big boy, too.
Goodbye, voice. All right.
You don't have to do this voice.
No, I got it.
No, but I have to.
When the Interim began publishing, there were many then who said it would not last. In some ways, we wish it hadn't. For the primary reason the interim exists is to report and comment on the many offenses against human dignity our society has experienced. Abortion, euthanasia, infanticide, contraception, sexual promiscuity, the decline of the traditional family, and the rise of radical environmentalism and animal rights agendas that put non-human matters at the center of public concern. The debasement of human beings over the past 40 years was a great tragedy that went utterly unnoticed by some in mainstream media, while other media outlets were actually cheerleaders to such change. By and large, media have viewed those who stand for traditional values and the sanctity of human life as archaic. We are glad to be such an anachronism, a proud, though lonely, journalistic defender of the sacredness of human life. We hope to be around for decades to come, for even when abortion is turned back and our country returns to the principles that respect human dignity, there will be a need to celebrate the culture of life, as well as stand on guard against a recurrence of the nightmare that has claimed more than 3 million unborn Canadian babies, since 1969. In the meantime, as our motto used to say, Semper Fidelis in the interim.
This man went on a huge rant, all because he's mad about abortion. I love when people are like radical environmentalism and animal rights, radical giving a shit, essentially.
That's the About Us section of this newspaper. That's the About Us.
That's insanity.
My favorite part about rants like this is it's like, no one will let us talk. Everyone tries to silence.
Oh my God! Oh shit! Jesse just got
listening. They're listening.
Dude, I just got, the minute I said that, I got cut off.
Oh my
Whoa.
God, what timing, bro.
Damn, dude. The interim is paying attention to this podcast.
Yeah. That's literally a newspaper with that vibe. So anyway, then you can imagine what they think about modern medicine. So anyway, the interim posted an article in November of 1996 called Former Population Control Official Affirms Philippine Vaccine Scandal. So take this quote Mathis is going to read with salt to taste. But this is what they reported, and I don't think it's totally inaccurate, though editorially I can't vouch.
Advertised as a national vaccination effort, the program involved the lacing of anti-tetanus toxoids with a sterilizing chemical known as HCG. Thousands of Filipino women between the ages of 15 and 45 were inoculated by the tainted vaccines. Only through the efforts of the Catholic Church organizations was the tainted vaccine brought to public attention. Mr. De La Reyes has said government officials at first denied the accusations and later suggested the presence of the sterilizing agent in the vaccine was an accident. This was a massive vaccination campaign involving at least 3 to 4 million women, Mr. De Los Reyes told the interim. Quote, many of these women had immediate side effects, and we still don't know if the sterilizing effect of the injections will be temporary or permanent. Meanwhile, Human Life International, a worldwide pro-life organization, called for further investigation of the program to uncover the full extent of the scandal. Mr. De Los Reyes had first-hand knowledge of population control efforts not only in the Philippines, but in several countries throughout Asia. He detected a pattern of governments bowing to pressure from development organizations such as the World Health Organization to introduce contraception and population control programs. Often development aid was extended to these governments only if they agreed to the population control measures.
Yeah. So, like I say, this is definitely being politicized. I don't know how much of the intent is correct, but it does seem like there was a situation where some HCG was found in vaccines in the Philippines. As best as I can tell. I don't want to say that that's true, but this is the evidence that this YouTube video used to back up the claims that Paul Walker and Roger Rodas were fighting the good fight in stopping the Philippines from getting sterilized. But
this just doesn't seem like, I don't, bizarre. It's always vaccines will cause
I know,
X.
but
And
here's
if this took place years ago, you'd think we would have seen, if they got 4 million women, you'd think we would see stuff.
Well,
this is just like when people said that getting the COVID vaccine would kill you, yet everyone who got it still, like,
Big-
I'm not
I'm
gonna say
still
everyone,
kicking,
obviously,
baby.
But,
big agree.
like, we're still here. I'm not dead, suddenly.
According to the video, this also likely happened in Kenya, and I went and found a paper published in the Open Access Library Journal in October of 2017. And here's a quote from the abstract of that paper for Jesse to read. If this legitimizes it any more or less, I don't know.
By November 1993, Catholic publications appeared saying an abortifacient, vaccine was being used as a tetanus prophylactic. In November 2014, the Catholic Church asserted that such a program was underway in Kenya. 3 independent Nairobi-accredited biochemistry laboratories tested samples from vials of the WHO tetanus vaccine being used in March 2014 and found HCG where none should be present. In October 2014, 6 additional vials were obtained by Catholic doctors and tested in 6 accredited laboratories. Again, HCG was found in half the samples. Subsequently, Nairobi's AgriQ Quest Laboratory, in 2 sets of analysis, again found HCG in the same vaccine vials that tested positive earlier, but found no HCG in 52 samples alleged by the WHO to be vials of the vaccine used in Kenya campaign, 40 with the same identifying batch numbers as the vials that tested positive for HCG. Given that HCG was found in at least half the WHO vaccine samples known by the doctors involved in administering the vaccines to have been used in Kenya, our opinion is that Kenya anti-tetanus campaign was reasonably called into question by the Kenya Catholic Doctors Association as a front for population growth reduction.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, yeah, I would love to know more information than just besides what people paid by the church said.
There's a whole.
I'd like to know how much
paper.
was found, because it wasn't found in all of them. So I'd like to know
I mean,
how
I understand,
much of
I
it was
understand it's
found.
paper, but I'm saying, like,
I want to be clear.
Leaving out the
it
numbers.
seems pretty
I
one-sided.
want to be clear that I still think that in general people should trust vaccines.
no
Though
shit, for sure.
there is a legitimate concern that in countries that need the vaccines and have no choice and no sway over world politics, that maybe some lesser than vaccines are sometimes used in those areas because who cares is the thought.
Also, one of the things that's not mentioned in this, reading this again, there's not one bit of quantity listed.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
So finding
that's
like a little bit in there, it may not do anything to the human body.
But also, like, yeah, like that's exactly the point. Is like, I do want to point out that this is a guy who uses the word plandemic in his video. I want to point out that in both cases that we brought this up, that we're talking about Catholic Church Doctors Association, which is like, you know, an organization that like the Catholic Church is often against stuff like this. I don't think
For sure.
I don't think they're against vaccines officially, but you know, whatever. Now, I should say also that this is the exact type of thinking that people exploit to make people mistrustful of the concepts of vaccines in general. Coop himself even flirts with the idea of connecting this story with the COVID vaccine as a global sterilization attempt, which is psycho. But luckily, I think eventually he saw sense, as he never like seems to have made that video that he said he was going to like blow up the COVID vaccine or whatever. And this weird anti-science truther vibe has not been a part of any of their other more recent successful videos that I've seen. This one only has 1,000 views. The other ones are like gangbusters. I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but it could. Okay. Now that the situation maybe seems slightly more possible for something that's just dead ass mentioned in a one-off anonymous truth forum post, maybe the single worst place to get reliable information that I can think of, actually.
4chan.
Yeah. Let's break down the event. At least 4chan, some people aren't freaks. Like, on a truther forum, the point is that you're there because you know everybody knows you're wrong. And you're like trying to yell with people who agree with you. So I think it's even worse on a truther forum.
Really quickly. For the listeners out there who know more medical stuff, I did a quick Google search, and I would love to know where we have some crossed wires here. Or maybe this dude who's posting shit is just lying. But either way, I'm on the internet right now looking at how they tell if you are pregnant, and they're literally saying that in the first 4 weeks of pregnancy, HCG levels double every 2 to 3 days. So the more you have in you, the more likely you are to have a child, and the less likely, the more for a miscarriage. And the only, I guess I don't understand.
I
why
don't know
we would
anything
inject.
about how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like if you're injecting people with HCG, they would more likely be ready to have a baby.
Yeah. The whole point is that I want to lay this out as an argument as was presented, so that if it's wrong, that like somebody can come explain it and then I can actually tear it apart appropriately, because I did my darndest to delegitimize this. And this is the best that I could come up with, was just that it said this in these articles, which should be peer reviewed. Right?
Yeah, this is the last thing I can find. It says the HCG is not a component of any birth control methods. Pregnancy tests detect it, like Jesse said. Then it said a vaccine that targets HCG has been developed as a potential method of birth control. The vaccine is made up of...
You're supposed to want to have it, according to what I'm reading from doctors.
Yeah, the vaccine is made up of HSD linked to a tetanus toxoid, which is what we're talking about, or the diphtheria toxoid DT. The vaccine has been shown to be reversible and has not caused any notable side effects. So there's those words right there, and it's involved in a vaccine that targets HCG. It doesn't inject HCG.
Yeah, HCG is
so
a hormone
lying.
Produced by the placenta during pregnancy.
Yeah. So straight up,
well, he's not lying. He's reporting exactly what
it does. He's lying.
Well, what I'm saying is he's not the one lying. He's reporting back what he found articles saying, right? He's
the Catholic Church article.
Yeah. The problem is, and this is why I wanted to bring this up and explain what the interim was, is that like the shape of this mystery seems to be a anti-vaccine COVID mystery that co-ops the story of Paul Walker's
death to push their agenda.
But let's
crazy. But crazy to go in a whole other rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
This is the same vibe as people trying to stop like IVF, not understanding what IVF is.
Right. Or tariffs.
Like it's killing babies. I'm like, is that what you think it is?
Tariffs, same thing. That's the thing is
people should be forced to take an economy 101
yeah,
course.
That's the thing. Now that I've nestled this in reality, even though maybe the facts aren't exactly clear, let's imagine that there's a conspiracy that Paul Walker and Roger Rodas are about to blow off its hinges with a recording as they're leaving. And I'm going to give you guys events of the day of the crash and see if we can find anything compelling. Okay. So according to the official accounts, it was about 3:30 p.m., November 30th, 2013. Rodas was driving Walker back from a Typhoon Haiyan related Reach Out worldwide charity event, such a Paul Walker name, at a car shop that they owned nearby called Always Evolving, another very Paul Walker name. And when they came to a fairly quiet stretch of road that's popular for drifting in an office park on Hercules Street in Valencia, which is like actually not too far from here, right by Six Flags Magic Mountain, between two of the absolutely horrible fires that are currently burning completely uncontrolled here in the Los Angeles area, where only the only crazy machine that controls the weather here is actual real global warming. So welcome to it. But anyway, they were going 85 in a 45, which for our metric listeners is like going 140 in a 72, when Rodas lost control of the car, which quickly crashed into a lamppost and two trees. Both men were knocked out in the impact, died fairly quickly, and were quickly burned beyond recognition. No drugs or alcohol were found in either of their systems. They were wearing their seatbelts. There was no sign of mechanical failure or damage within the car or pre-existing bad road conditions. There was a video of it from surveillance cameras on some of the office parks, so we know it wasn't some kind of drag race. And again, according to the official story, the high speed of the car and the fairly old tires, which probably were ready to be replaced, were the main reason the car crashed. And it was like a Porsche. It was like a Porsche. I forget exactly what kind of Porsche it was. Maybe we said it or maybe we didn't, but it's like a 2005 Porsche. So it was like only a few years old at the time because it was 2013. And it was just maybe about time to change out the tires. Let
me just tell you, just get a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
You're
right.
never going to go racing in one of those.
You're 100% right.
Reliable.
I have a Scion, basically a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
But the video raises a good point, which I corroborated with a quote from an article about the crash in the Epic Times, which Mathis will read for us now.
Yeah.
Why isn't it working? There we go. Oh, why isn't it?
Keep up.
It just does. Sometimes it doesn't copy paste, but there we go.
There we go. There were skid marks in the area of the crash. So many that authorities thought at one point that Rodas may have been drag racing with another car, but there weren't skid marks. But there weren't skid marks in the part of the road right before the crash. Why not? Sources at Always Evolving, the auto shop co-owned by Walker and Rodas, told TMZ that they saw evidence of a steering fluid leak, including a burst and subsequent trail. The lack of skid marks before the point of impact, a tree appeared to align with the steering fluid leak, the sources said, but officials later said that there was no evidence of a fluid leak, leaving the lack of a skid mark a question mark.
Yeah. And furthermore, why wouldn't a near pro level racing driver like Rodas hit the brakes anyway? Like, genuinely, if some good driver wants to peep the area over there in Valencia and tell me a good reason, I'll Unsolved Mystery style update it. If you can tell, I've been flirting with the idea of doing an update episode for a while now. Or, we can call it sticker starring it if we solve the sticker star mystery, whatever you want to call it. But he wouldn't be worried. Imagine you're Roger Rodas, right? You're I think you're a financial advisor. You're Paul Walker's best friend. You know that he is shooting Fast 7 right now. Are you really going to take his life in your hands and be crazy on the steering wheel? Right. In Valencia?
You would think not.
Yeah. The movie hadn't even wrapped, right? Or B, are you not going to try and stop the car when you realize
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.
you're out of control? Are you not going to just hit the brakes, right? So what could have happened if the car wasn't broken, according to the police inspections? There was no mechanical failure, and you've got a, quote, gentleman racer at the wheel that would result in no skid marks. So according to Coop, it's time to crack open WikiLeaks, or more specifically, Vault 7 of WikiLeaks. And just in case you don't know what that is, here's Jesse with an excerpt from that old flame who's been looking better and better again these days, Wikipedia. Something good, which no rich asshole should be able to buy. Here you go. Here's a little quote.
Vault 7 is a series of documents that WikiLeaks began to publish on 7 March 2017, detailing the activities and capabilities of the United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, to perform electronic surveillance and cyber warfare. The files, dating from 2013 to 2016, include details on the agency's software capabilities, such as the ability to compromise cars, smart TVs, web browsers, including Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, and Opera, the operating systems of most smartphones, including Apple's iOS and Google's Android, and computer operating systems including Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. A CIA internal audit identified 91 malware tools out of more than 500 tools in use in 2016 being compromised by the release. The tools were developed by the Operations Support Branch of the CIA. The Vault 7 release led the CIA to redefine WikiLeaks as a non-state hostile intelligence service. In July 2022, former CIA software engineer Joshua Schultz, we'll say, was convicted for leaking the documents to WikiLeaks, and in February 2024 sentenced to 40 years imprisonment on espionage counts and separately to 80 months for child pornography counts. Well, there's a whole other thing.
That's the thing to tag at the end there.
Yeah, fucking wild. But it's also weird. It's did they hit him with those? Did he go down?
They put him in for 40 years. Why 80 more months?
I don't know why he's got the CP. That's no good. Specifically to explain the OP's claim that
quote that, Alex. I don't know, CP. Yes, no.
I'm not into that stuff. And I don't think you should be either. What do you say about that? I know it's
that's brave,
but
a pretty normal thought.
I would love to direct all of you to an article that I think would be super interesting.
Okay.
To read. It's thedrive.com, and this was written May 3rd, 2019 by Matt Farah, and it's called The Truth Behind What Caused Paul Walker's Fatal Crash. This is from an automobile website that is like an auto magazine.
Okay.
And literally he's like, hey, here's the deal. I went through it. I drove the same places. I did the same things. I looked at all the information. Here's what did it. Even though the tires they had only had 5,000 miles on them, the tires themselves were over 5 years old.
Yeah.
And tires wear out, and they're the only thing keeping you connected to the road. So an old dried out tire you will die.
Crumble, yeah.
And he's like going 85 on a turn. He's like, I've done that turn a bunch of times. You should be able to do that. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that unless you have shitty tires, which is what the skid marks indicate. Again, this is just this one guy's interpretation, but I tend to believe he's probably correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what the official story is, right? But specifically to explain the OP's claim that, quote, they were betrayed and someone rigged their car's brakes to malfunction at a certain speed, here's an excerpt from WikiLeaks' own analysis of the documents for Mathis to read.
As of October 2014, the CIA was also looking at infecting the vehicle control systems used by modern cars and trucks. The purpose of such control is not specified, but it would permit the CIA to engage in nearly undetectable assassinations.
Yeah. So, yeah, in some ways, it almost feels like I just saw a UFO, in that, of course, there's no evidence or sign of foul play if it's true, and everybody around me is like a fucking like right-wing, like anti-science asshole nut job who hates vaccines and loves QAnon. But
broken clock, is like, it happens, but it just,
yeah. In
doesn't
another
mean
way,
they're right on everything else.
every detail is so much more plausible than a UFO abduction in some vectors, based on things we already know about in the world, that even if we're only looking at it this way because some weirdo on a weird website online, isn't it crazy how believable it sounds? It's weird.
I think it's only believable in the fact that trust for government is so low.
That's
you
real.
know what I mean?
That's real.
Be it right or left or whoever, whoever's in power, you just don't trust them. Like, for example, right now, not too thrilled about Trump. However, if I was a Republican, I would not be too thrilled about, anyone else being in charge.
I would say I'm not too thrilled about Biden either in like a normal way, but.
Or the fact that they just elected an old man that has fucking like cancer to be running the head of a committee. That's the left of dumbasses too.
Yeah, I mean, but it's been that way since the 70s, and we just done nothing about it.
And now we'll never be able to know if Paul Walker was murdered because people
that's exactly correct.
People just cover it up with their politics.
Government.
But yeah, that was Walker and Rodas. And to close us out today, we got one more. It's South 32. Here we go. Do you guys know the number 23, that movie with Jim Carrey, where no matter what he does, he keeps running into 23s everywhere? That's kind of like what this last one for today is like, except instead of the number 3, it's the phrase South 32, which to most people is just the name of an innocuous but very wealthy and therefore baseline slightly evil Australian mining company spun off from the even bigger and more evil mining company BHP. But to a certain type of weed-smoking internet bridge troll, which are not the same as normal internet trolls, thank you very much, not at all, it is also the name of one of the craziest trailheads out there on the internet today. And the wildest thing by far is that everybody's method of stumbling onto this shit is totally random. So like take first this example of this 6-year-old post on starmen.net, which describes OP, someone called Agent 004, randomly doing stupid internet bullshit with a friend and searching random phrases as URLs until they get to the phrase iwanttodie.com. And it took them to an extremely bizarre site, which looked different than it does now, but still played a big, long, annoying audio file using a lot of the same phrases as back then. Now, if you want to go to iwanttodie.com, go for it. But again, be careful. These are internet mysteries. It's not the goodest stuff. Like, don't go any deeper than the first page. If you go anywhere, it's immediately abrasive and upsetting. If you go to iwanttodie.com, if you want to put a clip of the audio, Dean, just for a second, just so everybody can hear, but it's pretty funny. Like, I mean, I'll just click on it just once. I'll just click on it.
Australian men and women, have you been raped by BHP Mining, Rio Tinto Mining, or South 32 Mining?
Yeah, there's just a lot going on.
The fuck?
And it's like
or South 32,
and it's pictures of getting
it's
pictures of women getting railed. It's like pornographic. It's fucking weird. And if you want, okay, so yeah, like I say, don't go to any of the links. I'm not going to put that many links in the show notes for this one, just because of the nature of it, and you'll see why soon. Everything seemed to be leading to South 32, the phrase, in this website that he found. So they tried that as a URL as well, south32.com. And what they found was a living, breathing version of the same exact stuff as before. It didn't used to be as rape heavy as it is now in terms of the messaging, but that's exactly what I mean by living and breathing. Like if you go back and look at the archived versions of the site over the years, it goes through tons of versions of dynamic text updates, Image changes, sometimes even in real time, day to day changing, but always, always, always some variation on the same basic unhinged theme of South 32, Australia, BHP, all that kind of stuff, with the goal, I believe, of simply being very upsetting to your sensibilities and unpleasant to experience, or at least that's what it seems to be on the surface. Or if you want to come to it from another angle, elsewhere, like a horror movie sequel, also 6 years ago, a small mystery YouTuber who runs a show called Elder's Vault and who is personified by a giant turtle in a top hat and monocle, which is hilarious because I think it has to do with how their voice sounds, discovered it while messing around with Google's Translate function, which I don't know if you've seen this, but if you choose some of the more obscure languages on Google Translate and type like absolute gibberish in the like obscure language side and translate it to English, it will like give you hyperlinks and weird phrases and snippets of English. It's really bizarre. But Elder's Vault was messing around with Mongolian and letting it spit out whatever it wanted in English, when suddenly it literally led him to a random website called Setana.com or Centana.com or something like that. I don't know. I think it's Centana.com, but don't go there. It also looked different than it does now. Still, nevertheless, also covered in all kinds of crazy South 32 propaganda, and at the time, still had a message up asking for investors of some kind on a film project, featuring a 2-hour-long video of strange people saying bad things about some companies and good things about a movie and about a person. After the Elder Vault video, many of the websites changed to include the title of his video. YouTube channels were formed in an effort to sync his videos SEO that are named South 32 and titled things similar to his video. They even posted an offer on some of their sites for a $1,000 or $100,000 reward to locate him, identifying not only his name Elder, but also calling him a mob-style enforcer with an Australian accent. Or, like a bad threequel to a horror movie, 5 years later, just 1 year ago, another newer, smaller mystery YouTuber who you should check out, who is called Swanene, heard about it when a friend of the pod, YouTuber Nexpo, cryptically tweeted in March of 2020 that another mystery in one of his videos was South 32-like, and Swanene simply Googled the term to see what it meant. Swanene's video, by the way, like none of these internet mystery guys really do the most in-depth research, let's be honest. Like, they're not like going deep in the way that you can with research, not for lack of trying. I'm not trying to say they're lazy or something like that. It's just that like there's not a lot of like academic style research going on with some of these things, and there's some reading comprehension issues where like I say, I will be like reading this shit and I will go and I will read the same exact sources as them, and people will be like, "Wow, you're so in depth," and I'm like, "I just read the real fact that they missed. They just missed." Like I don't know what to tell you. But Swanene is pretty good. And it's the most research based of all the videos about something as weird as this. And he's got a nice big paste bin of every link that he used, which is really cool. It's a great resource if you're trying to look into this yourself. But again, try not to click on too many websites or use a burner computer or something that you can like wipe when you're done. But yeah, it's cool because the video that he made was pretty short, but he did include all these links anyway, which I thought was neat. So what is it? What is South 32? Well, other than the giant mining company, the next things that pop up for South 32 is a bizarre, low-budget movie from 2016 about a girl who was bullied her whole life and then the murders that came from that. And if you want, there's a whole thing on imdb.com. Though full disclosure, there's boobies and blood in there, so be warned, but I'm going to put it in the show notes.
Boobies and blood!
Because you can do it. But more important than the entire movie is just the movie's IMDb page itself. And for example, just check out the video that they have uploaded on IMDb as the trailer for their movie. Make sure you unmute it. Just give our viewers,
my gosh, so loud immediately. Jesus.
Yeah, just give our viewers a summary of what you're seeing.
Imagine the most blurry, insane looking. It says mafia, and then a bunch of.
I think it's someone filming a screen, is what it is.
I do not understand what this is.
Yeah, it's playing like all kinds of audio clips. It's like kind of laying out, like, have you ever the Toynbee tiles that we did a while back?
No,
how
yeah.
the cadence of the typing and talking was like kind of like nonsensical, but like kind of centered around topics and keywords. That's kind of the vibe of this.
I don't understand. So this isn't the trailer though.
No, this is the it's not related to the movie, but it is there because the movie placed it there. So The main
What?
So the main complaint that is being made in these videos, in these strange videos, is that the Australian company South 32 is bullying someone claiming to be the owner of the original South 32 website, south32.com. And one of the claims is that they use a whois lookup. You can see it in the video for a domain name. And so we did a whois lookup to the domain name, and it leads us to the first time in this mystery to the name Luigi Bion, who is listed as the site's owner, and which, of course, not only shows up in the IMDb credits for the movie South 32 as the executive producer, and supervising producer, but Luigi Bion also has a story by credit in this movie. Digging deeper into Luigi Bion and his alter ego, Carrie Bion, which I honestly think, after reading it so many times, is actually of reference to pirates, as in of the Caribbean, because it's the name of his it's the name of his film studio. And he's Luigi Bion, and it's the Carrie Bion film studio. And you'll see why I think he's doing pirate stuff in a minute. It starts to make sense how many threads all lead to the same place when you see this, because Luigi and Kari and a business he's listed as the owner of, which is a confusingly 2-word named thing called Los Angeles News. These 4 entities own 74,000 to 80,000 different strange URLs, just like iwanttodie.com or Santana.com or LAtime.com, like not LA Times, but like LAtime.com or milkbaby.com or Hollywood.com, but like wood as in like some girl named Hollywood, and it's like a porn site. Like, so many of them are porn sites. There's like Sex Horse, all these crazy ones. But there's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of them. And now, looking at the situation, he appears to be some kind of nut who buys up URLs close to the names of large brands for cheap and then illegally sells them back to the brands at heavily inflated prices. Like LAtime.com. LA Times starts to get bothered by whatever bullshit he puts on LAtime.com, some kind of porn or whatever shit that it links to. So they buy the domain name from him so that it stops. It's that type of thing. That's the racket, right? And from that, we can infer not only that Mr. Bion is upset with South32, the Australian mining company, for going with South32.net as their official website instead of paying him the $10 million that he asked for South32.com, as he likely expected they might. And indeed, just to prove that actually happened, Jesse will read for us now an article from smartcompany.com/au that proves it. So here you go. Get ready.
What's crazy about looking up South32 is, the mining site is the first thing.
100. And that's not how it was. This is a mystery from 6 years ago. So
Sure. It is something mining giant BHP Billiton is discovering this week after an emerged the direct domain name for its spin-off company, South32, is already taken. BHP Billiton spent a long time deciding on a name for the spin-off, so long that the name of the business became commonly known as Crapco. Finally, BHP Billiton announced on Monday the company it intends to create through its proposed demerger will be called South32. But the main South32.com is owned by a U.S. company, Caribbean Film Company, and currently features a video loop of a woman's tongue. According to Fairfax, the Californian company has attempted to sell the domain to BHP for the sum of $10 million. A spokesperson for BHP told Smart Company this morning that BHP had looked at South32.com as part of its due diligence, but decided it was not prepared to pay the price demanded by the owner.
Yeah, so they were like, we're just being fucking held hostage here. Fuck you, we're going to go with .net, eat a dick. Is basically what they said. But strangely, when I looked further into claims of cyber squatting, as sitting on a domain like this is sometimes called, I learned a couple of things. Firstly, Bion actually did own the domain South32 for 6 years prior to the Australian company existing, which, to their credit, they did cite as supporting evidence when they denied the claims of cyber squatting. But I also found links to other random URLs that they owned, like 31south.com and post47.com, and suddenly a little scenario comes into my head, which is this. Maybe they were these weird domain pirate barons that they just grabbed a bunch of sites at random in a similar style and just waited just in case somebody made a website that was called something like this, and they just randomly ended up as the owners of a website called South32.com. But when an Australian company randomly decides to name their company that in order to dodge previous scrutiny that they've received in the past for similar behavior of cyber squatting, maybe they made an entire production company and wrote, cast, shot, and edited a movie named the same thing instead of making a fake website just to prove that it wasn't domain squatting because South32 is such a big, scary company that they don't want to get sued by them, right? Since at the time, when people look up Luigi Beyond, he looks squeaky clean. He's a movie producer. It's all good. And so, you know, the idea is they say, hey, listen, we're not trying to be illegal cyber squatters here. We really have a production company called South32 to make our movie. We've been doing it for years. What's wrong with you? Get off our back. I'm just a movie producer. But then somebody realized that Luigi Beyond's actual name is not Luigi Beyond, but is actually Saeed Yamtobian. And here's a quote from an entire Wired article from 2003 about Saeed Montobian for Mathis to read. So this just gets wilder and wilder.
The Jupyter toolbar that is plaguing so many internet users is the work of the father and son team, Saeed and Daniel Yamtobian, as you said? Yamtobian. The Yamtobians are well-known spammers who have been accused of hijacking other people's mail servers to pump out solicitations for porn sites. The pair is also skilled in setting up stealth websites and has spent much time in court for deliberately constructing URLs in a way that encourages people to arrive at one of their websites accidentally. Users typically stumble on this scam when they enter a URL that's slightly incorrect and are whisked off to a gambling or sexually explicit site rather than the well-known domain they had intended to visit. Court records indicate the New York Times and Los Angeles Times have both had their URLs co-opted by the Yamtobians.
Yeah.
That's a very early 2000s scam.
Yeah.
To
I don't know
run.
if you remember the Jupyter toolbar, but that shit was actually evil. I think Wired actually called it the most evil thing on the internet. It's pretty funny. But yeah, if you notice, they also name-checked Saeed's son, Daniel Yamtobian, in that article. And you can actually go back and peep the IMDb credits again and see that same guy, Daniel Yamtobian, no fake name, also listed as an executive producer on the South32 movie. And now here's Jesse with an excerpt from a huge BuzzFeed News article from 2020 that is all about Daniel Yamtobian and actually has like its own assets that were made, how big of a report it is. It's like a fucking expose on the man.
Advertise.com, which Yamtobian founded in 2001 as abcsearch.com, bills itself as the world's largest privately held keyword pay per click PPC network, and reportedly had $35 million in revenue in 2012, the only time Yamtobian appears to have publicly disclosed financial information. Advertise.com says it can deliver millions of visitors and clicks thanks to traffic that can't be acquired anywhere else. It claims to have served more than 10,000 clients since 2001. It's one of many such businesses that trade in web traffic, a significant and shady sector of the online advertising and publishing industry. The publisher might buy traffic to hit goals it promises to an advertiser or to increase ad views and therefore revenue. Yamtobian at times generates traffic in ways that force people, or their browsers at least, to visit websites they had no intention of viewing, while disguising the origin of these visitors to trick analytic software and fraud detection services. In one example of Yamtobian Chrome extension behavior documented by Double Verify, a user clicked a link on a website in their browser, but instead of loading the correct page, a new browser tab automatically opened and loaded L.com. This registered as a visit to the L.com website, for which the site's owners would earn money from ads on the page.
So you know those pop under ads that open on like every porn site that you've ever been on that like you click and it opens like a thing?
Sure.
That's Daniel Yamtobian. He did that. That's him. Pretty crazy. So yeah, that's his thing. And the alleged ad fraud schemes and accusations of cyber squatting continue unabated to this day. But even as the basic answer takes shape, that guy is trying to make an unpleasant noise so loud that South32 finally decides it's worth it to pay him to go away, I think is like the vibe, right? But the question remains, like, who is doing this and to what end and how exactly are they doing it? How deep does it go? It feels like it goes on forever and nothing really feels fully just like somebody's scheme to get money from South32, because if that's all they cared about was money, they obviously wouldn't work this hard to do it. They would just put like a they put like a fucking ass on the screen or some shit like that. And this is like trying to disseminate weird information. Like this is Luigi Beyond's YouTube channel. Like the man's digital footprint is not small. There are so many places to go like investigating. His last video is from like a year ago, and it's him like putting out a public announcement that a dirty bathroom needs to get shut down. Like it's wild stuff.
Yeah.
And going back to the Elder Vaults video, as he dug deeper and looked closer, there were things that looked like coordinates on there. That there's some sites that would download files to your hard drive without asking, and when you unzip them, would link you to even more websites. There's websites with just password prompts.
So much work, and the man fucking records in vertical.
That's what I'm saying. There were purposely SEO bombed sites with hidden information just on specific sites that you'd have to like know to look for with links. There was tiny messages in low resolutions hidden in some of the videos I just linked to you on the webpage. Here's Mathis with a quote from Elder's Vault, the video to close this out.
With so much South 32 nonsense already being in the search engine with the mining company in the movie, maybe someone or some organization decided to put their underground information through these sites under the guise of South 32. With so many different access points, it would be almost impossible to notice a pattern. Essentially, what I'm saying is they're using Luigi Beyond and South 32 as some sort of cover-up for the spread of their information and aren't who the websites say they are, registering under fake names like Luigi Beyond and Carry Beyond. This means, this does make sense, but they would have had to work incredibly hard to put up the facade that they were Luigi, Saeed, or Carry Beyond. Well, the whole thing doesn't sit right with me. It's just part of the, most of the time scams seem like so much more work than just like doing a job.
It's so unhinged. It seems it's like I know we didn't really look at a lot of the web pages and stuff involved with this, but if you go to the YouTube channel, you can kind of get a sense of like what they look like. All these weird,
it is purely unhinged. I'm watching the videos right now. It's madness.
Yeah, it looks like ransom notes. Like if you go to the website, it's like immediately abrasive. Like south32.com is a pretty safe website if you want to just go to the main one. It's like the main web, and it has like all these crazy videos everywhere. South 30 is it says email on like a little sign on both sides, a big red gradient. It says South 32 CEO fired all employees, dead production. It's like, I don't know. It's so much. It's so much. And I just don't understand.
I am absolutely convinced what's going to happen is people are going to go to his YouTube, respond and say that we talked about it, and then he's going to make videos about us. I'm convinced of this. I've never been more convinced of anything in my life. This guy is a full-on scammer, and I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, expect Chilluminati spelled differently to be a website that he's going to be like, if you want it, there's dicks on there.
We don't have a website, so like nobody's going to be looking for us at any.com. Yeah, we got no website.
I'm telling you right now, I've never seen anything quite like this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's hardcore. But yeah, patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod. See you next time for episode C of Cornerfest 25. Be sure to check out the official festival lineup poster for Cornerfest 25 for free on the Patreon. And if you want, come find us all on Blue Sky and follow us there too. Thank you for the support. This has been another big ass giant episode of Cornerfest, and we got 2 more left.
Yes, he was right. 8 hours of this shit.
Told you.
8 very, very well curated hours. See you guys later.
Goodbye.
Anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside indulging on our porch one night, enjoying ourselves. I needed to go to the bathroom, so I stepped back inside, and after a few moments, I hear my wife go, "Holy shit, get out here." So I quickly dash back outside, and she's looking up at the sky in awe. I look up too, and there's a perfect line of dozen lights traveling across the sky.
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech. You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.